A creature is biting a human in the kingdom of Raphma, where the claws of the demonic army reach people. The terrible demonic army, the monstrous darkness. It is enough to frighten the soldiers of the United Order. But what is even more terrifying compared to the demon lord? In front of a building, several creatures scream for the demon king lord, but this scum does not deserve to be mentioned. The demon emperor who rules this world is called ßōᴅᴜᴜᴛ. He silently observes all that uproar. Suddenly terrified, he asked himself, what the hell is happening here? What should I do? He recalls that he had only turned on his computer to test a game. How did he end up being transported here? Looking at his reflection, he says, and this body. Then, out of nowhere, he realizes the name ßōᴅᴜᴜᴜ and wonders if he is not the main villain of the game. The game was the demon lord's captives. A game where one assumes the role of the demon lord and kidnaps women, unlocking beautiful videos. For example, holy women of the church, the dwarf princess and dark elves. When it was released, the game quickly sold out on store shelves, but the marketing was not very good. In the end, unknown origin events occurred and the game was abandoned en masse. Traitors emerged from the demonic army. Captured female characters were suddenly transformed into goddesses by the players, becoming the goddesses who destroyed the fist of Castlevania. To shorten the story, the demon lord's fate was only one: game over, death. While our hero thought, what the hell does this useless plot, an ending then is certainly death. He whines a little. To calm himself, he thinks that the game's storyline has just begun and that there is still time to fix everything. Since this character is going to die, he just needs to become a shapeshifter. And he thinks, that's it. The secret to staying alive is to live without lust. Suddenly, someone calls for Lord Lucius. A goblin asks the Lord to please report to the front hall, because the Demon King's army has captured an important prisoner. Sweating cold, he thinks that was fast and responds that he understands, ordering them to proceed. The goblin says, yes. He questions which way leads to this hall, while the goblin catches his attention, saying that direction leads to the kitchen. Meanwhile, in the dungeons of the Demon King's castle, a woman screams, demons, I will not give up. In a church, a religious ceremony was taking place. A nun prayed for blessings from the Divine Lady, and the other never imagined that the jewel of the church would put her life at risk like this. They prayed, saying that the sacred Polly pretended to be captured by the Demon King's army to infiltrate it. With a determined look, she thinks she will retrieve Eugene's golden staff, which was stolen. She will not give up, no matter how much the demon enjoys himself with her, as two malevolent creatures approach. And she shouts for the demons to hurry up. Suddenly, a woman appears and says, "Oh, worthy golden jewel of the church." The creatures kneel and greet her, calling her Lord Freem. Freem, the demon lord's assistant, says that even in a dungeon, Polly still shines brightly. Polly exclaims in shock, "Holy lady, dark elf," and with the staying she adds, calling her an obscene demoness. She shouts that she will not give up and that Freem should do what she came to do. In the next moment, she swallows hard as the elf raises her head with a whip. Freem says she loves the way the girl speaks and hopes that in the future, she can be as convincing as she is now. And as much as she enjoys saying this, unfortunately, it is not to her that Polly will succumb. She says for Polly to congratulate herself, for this is the true master of this army, the Imperial Majesty, and with that, she uses a teleportation spell, taking them in front of a large double door. Frightened, Polly asks if the Demon King is behind this door, the very Demon King. This is Polly's understanding of the demonic race. First, the common demons, and then a larger version, which would be the so-called king. And she thinks that even if he is big, she's not afraid, but that does not seem to be true. The doors open and the two women enter the hall. On the other side, our Lord merely waits, smiling. Bowing, Freem says, "Lord Lucius, the Saint Polly is here." She thinks this is the terrible Demon King known as the White Beast, and she wonders why he is different from the books, thinking that she doesn't know if he has such a different temperament, but that he is handsome. Repressing herself, she thinks, "Stay sober, Polly, what am I thinking? This must certainly be an illusion." And she stands there, huffing, trying to control herself. Our Lord looks at her and wonders if she is palling him as a golden jewel, and that this is only part of the masterpiece that is this game. That he thinks, no, what am I thinking? This is all an illusion. She is not a defenseless little bunny. She is the easiest character to corrupt in the game, and in the end ends up becoming a six-winged angel who destroys the demon. Our Lord laughs awkwardly, while thinking that it's best to stay calm. Suddenly, she shouts, ordering him to stop pretending and show his true nature. "These pink potions make my body feel strange, or my magic tattoo might be hypnotizing me." She thinks it's useless, that if she screams once more, she loses, but then she thinks no, she loses if she doesn't scream faster. Smiling, the Lord says that there is nothing of what she is talking about here and asks the Holy Lady to stay calm. The elf asks His Majesty if he will need the subordinates to develop this. Excited, she says she has a friend who is good at mind control and magic and also possesses dozens of drug formulas for it. But Lucius asks her to stop talking, that he doesn't need any of that. Shocked, Polly questions if he really doesn't need any of that, and then asks if he wants to use it on her. Our hero wonders what the hell this woman is talking about. She screams, saying that she will never be able to serve God again with that look on her face, that she absolutely cannot. All the Lord says no, the elf grabs her whip, calling her insolent. and striking. She shouts, "How dare she make such a fuss in front of our emperor?" The girl screams and curls up, but suddenly, someone grabs the whip, leaving Polly surprised by this. Our lord orders Frame to stop. While the elf is surprised, Polly, not understanding anything, says, "Demon, Thaman Lord." Lucius worries if he is being too obvious in defending the enemy like this and wonders if they will suspect that he is choosing a side. Meanwhile, the elf thinks that Lucius is the reason for her existence, that she couldn't bear if he hated her for what she is doing, and each one, terrified of a different situation, thinks how horrible this is. Frame, worried, questions if there is something wrong with this Lucius. He thinks it would be strange enough to interrogate her, but he can't hit her, so how could he punish her? When suddenly, he notices something, and looking at that interesting bound region, he thinks there is a way. The elf, not understanding, asks if it is her quarters. Our hero orders her to take Polly there, saying he has his own plans to punish the girl. Terrified, Polly asks if it's her quarters and says she can't believe it, questioning what the Demon King is talking about. And she wonders if, after all, it's already time for him to go after her. In the Demon King's castle bathhouse, Frame seems a little bothered by something. Polly, shouting, asks if he is really going to do something to her now, while the elf says how a poor human like her dares to cove the Demon Lord. What a delusion. If someone needs to serve him in bed, it could only be her. And seeming worried, she feels confused about the Lord. She wondered what exactly the Demon King was trying to do. Polly thinks that she is taking a special bath before going to her quarters and questions if this is a calm before something worse. Or could it be something else, but she doesn't care. She knows she needs to endure no matter what, even if hell is ahead. Opening a curious door, she asked if these are her quarters, and she comes face to face with an absurdly luxurious room with everything beautiful and attractive. Impressed, she says that this is really. Still very surprised, she adds that it's all very luxurious and sinful. She wonders if the purpose of that room is to attract her in some way. Calling it childish, she says that Polly, the sacred saint, will not be tempted by something so low level. She observes a little determined and a little more, maybe a little less determined, until finally she throws herself onto that luxurious and comfortable bed, and rolling around, she thinks, so big, so good, so comfortable, I've never slept in a bed like this since I was a child. She says that the demon is not the same as in the legends and that he does not seem like a bad guy. But suddenly she snaps back to reality and thinks about how she could have thought something like that. She wonders if she was blinded by these luxurious things. She says that no way, certainly that demon casts some kind of succuk magic because she read about it in a book. She thinks that it starts with temptation through simple objects, continues following the hints slowly, until in the end, the person becomes a toy in the hands of the Demon King. She tells him to please enjoy the food and calls him Great Master Demon King. Polly begins to pray, asking God to take care of the spirits of people on earth as quickly as the demon influences them. Determined, she says that she cannot be caught by this, and as she cannot forget her mission under any circumstances. But there's something more. She wonders if it would be okay to just lie down for a little while because that bed is really very comfortable, and she curses the demon. The day passes, the night passes, and morning comes soon after. The girl slowly awakens from that pleasant sleep and, in a panic, realizes that she fell asleep jumping out of bed. Cursing the situation, she questions if that bed was made to corrupt her. If that's the case, it's a very sinister intention. Suddenly, someone opens the bedroom door. The dark elf appears and says that the girl seems happy with the room, calling her Holy Lady. Polly is startled to see her. She orders her to get changed because Lord Lucius is in a war meeting and is ordered that she serve him. Holding the clothes in her hands, she questions if this is a maid's outfit. She thinks that the Lord wants to humiliate her by putting her in the position of a maid and wonders if that would be enough to break her spirit and make her give up. Polly says that she was really underestimated and adds that for rich or poor, nobles, priests, or even slaves, this is the most basic quality of a saint, and that this outfit is for her. It's not exactly shameful. Sighing, the dark elf thinks that she understands. She reflects that the Lord has changed recently because he prevented her from interrogating and torturing the prisoner and even gave her a beautiful room. She wonders if the punishment would only be a maid's uniform and what the reason for that would be. Suddenly, something catches her attention. Polly, embarrassed, asks what that is and how such a maid's outfit could even exist. Evaluating the clothing, she says that it is so cheap and really shameful. They all think that so that's it, an unexpected way to break the saint's mental defenses, that with just an outfit, he could weaken her spirit. Laughing, she asks if Polly felt it and explains that they have a way to corrupt her without violating anything or torturing her, saying that this is the wisdom of the Lord. The girl turns red, deeply embarrassed. Polly thinks that it's not bad for a little demon Cain, while the dark elf thinks that this was worthy of a supreme lord. Lucius says that it's not bad for him. Our hero thinks that by making her a maid, he protects her from various things around here, and besides, it's a great outfit. Not bad for him. While he laughs uncontrollably, someone approaches. Our hero clears his throat to regain his composure. Asking if she is around, he requests a cup of tea. Polly tells him to stop playing around, calling him a hypocritical demon. Our hero looks at her seriously for a moment. Suddenly, he seems to get a little too excited about it. She says she never imagined he would choose this kind of setting and that he has these fetishes, but either way, they should start Leaning on the table, she moves her body and asks what he wants her to do. And turning away, she adds that it's not that kind of thing. Suddenly, the door opens. A man enters, apologizing for his lateness to his lord. This is Bradley. But it seems he walks in on a somewhat unusual scene, leaving both Polly and our hero a little embarrassed. The man apologizes for arriving too early and starts to leave, but our hero shouts, Our hero says that's good and that the tactical meeting will officially begin. He asks Bradley to take a seat, and the man replies, yes. Sometime later, Lucius says that the 5th Corps is advancing steadily, and the man states that the 4th has breached the southwestern defenses. Polly is incredulous to be hearing all these military secrets and wonders if he thinks she's defenseless, or if there is another reason. Our hero realizes that the information is unfolding exactly as it did in the game's progression, so the next plan will be revealed. Bradley points with his finger, saying that they will now focus there. In 3 days, there will be a military maneuver that, if successful, will allow them to expand their territories. The enemies will be caught in a trap. The girl is surprised thinking about this mark. She realizes that this is not good, and that the Demon King's army will invade the fortress after a series of progressive attacks. Polly thinks that this is bad, and if they attack so forcefully, the kingdom of Rathma will not be able to withstand it. Our hero wonders what kind of strange thoughts she must be having now. He thinks about the game's terminal, questioning which option he should choose for the plan, but he realizes that it is perfect. Just by following it, it'll be easy to repel the allied forces and capture the next character. This is so simple that even a pig could get it right, however. He makes a point of refusing. He explains that there's no need to worry about those troops, surprising the Dark Elf. He says that Secretary Bradley has been chosen as the vanguard of this operation, leaving the man shocked and startled. He must seize victory in one move and lead his men straight to the fortress of Agen. Bradley says that the demons of that legion have not been fully hatched, so they won't be able to do it, and that Freem's plan would achieve the same goal. Then Lucius asks if he doubts his decision, but the man replies that he wouldn't dare. He just doesn't quite understand. Our hero says that of course he wouldn't. After all, at the end of the day, he is the one sending Bradley to his death. He thinks that the further the game progresses, the closer his death approaches, so making these decisions without worrying about triggering the end of the game is natural. And this Bradley, though his subordinate, is also secretly under the command of the Lord on the Flies from Hell. Sending him to his death is a good thing. Lucius adds that he certainly doesn't know this, but he has received important information and that the defense deployment is just a strategy. What they really want to mobilize are the fortress garrisons, and this is an empty city. Frame questions the empty city and thinks that it doesn't matter. It is a huge oversight on her part not to have known about such information. And smiling, she thinks about her demon lord. She wonders how he will punish these people, whether with a whip, a candle, or perhaps something even more intense. She apologizes for the failure of one of her subordinates, saying it is her own negligence for not knowing this information, and Lucius asks if she was feeling warm. Our hero says that it doesn't matter if he didn't receive this information from her, the plan is solid, and if they are using an empty city, they will take it. He tells Bradley that his demons are weak in individual combat but excel at infiltration, and the man thinks that he understands. So he will form a vanguard and attack the castle on the 100th day, leaving the man horrified. Bradley questions this frontal attack in broad daylight and asks what the difference is between that and being sent to die. He says he should not do it, but our hero says that he is too limited in his thinking and criticizes him. He asks what he can think that the enemy cannot, stating that they are certainly more alert at night. Bradley thinks that's true. We will not just fight, we will fight in broad daylight to catch them off guard while the sun is hot. Afraid, Bradley stammers, but this is... Suddenly, the dark elf grabs attention by placing her foot on the bench. She asks if the man doubts the imperial majesty and explains that his intentions are naturally based on his deepest thoughts. Frame thinks that the Lord doesn't need to worry that she will not fail in her duty again, and that he should leave this small task to his subordinates. Pointing at Polly, she says, "Look at the shame on the saint's face near our Lord. Eggs the best proof of this." The man questions if she is the captured saint and is impressed that she was subdued so quickly. The elf says that the Lord is the master of manipulation. Bradley says that he understands and that he will lead the 9th Courts to conquer the fortress. Lucius says that's what he expects from his secretary and orders everything to begin. As Bradley leaves, our hero breathes a sigh of relief. He thinks, empty city, false special operation, completely meaningless. Nothing bad for me. If I keep going like this, even I will believe it. Polly, fearful, wonders how the demon lord knows that the fortress is empty and who could have leaked this information. Polly, fearful, wonders how the demon lord knows that the fortress is empty and who could have leaked this information. Irritated, the girl says who. She asks the Lord if there is another high-ranking person from the Union Army that he has captured. Our hero says, if there is another high-ranking person, so far only you, Miss Saint, have been captured by my troops. She questions this, wondering if it could be possible, and remembers that yesterday she didn't wake up in her room. She concludes that she was hypnotized by the Demon King's power, and with that, interrogated for information. Polly slams her hand firmly on the table. Lucius wonders what is happening while she believes she has betrayed the army and prays to God, saying she is no longer worthy of serving him. Our hero observes the scene, blushing slightly, finding the sight just a little too good. The next moment he thinks, calm down, don't think about that, don't be impulsive. Finally, she asks, did you think the impenetrable fortress would be so easy to conquer, that every area was considered, and that there is a super defense system that has been operating for hundreds of years? Our hero asks, is that so? Then that's great. But he wonders if it's as he remembers, that the fortress has undergone changes over the last 2,000 years between humans and dwarves, right? Polly says that's why it is strong, that it is impossible to invade, and yet they still manage to resolve all internal problems. Lucius tells the girl that he knows it's a very resilient fortress, impossible to be attacked, an invincible fortress. And he asks, if the flying corp attacked from the air, how many could be deployed? Especially in broad daylight, they would just be easy targets, right? The girl notices that the more he speaks, the more excited he gets, that this is very obscene, and she thinks that she cannot miss this opportunity, so she says that it's impossible, that if he attacks, he will definitely fail. Suddenly approaching him, she adds that the dwarves have always been firm allies of the humans, and with their help, the fortress will crush the demon army. Our hero gives a satisfied smile, and says that's exactly right, that she is correct. He asks if, through the dwarves' explosives and human alchemy, they didn't create powerful alchemic cannons. Lucius questions whether a single shot could obliterate miles, and if they flew and jumped in front, they would be completely annihilated. Very excited, our hero starts laughing, while the girl thinks, why? With trembling legs, she wonders why he is so confident and thinks about how he said he is not worried at all about the fortress. She can't believe she told him a secret like the great alchemic cannon. Coughing, our hero realizes he got a little too excited and ended up choking. Meanwhile, on the front lines of the Demon King's army, someone asks if, in other words, Lord Lucius has rejected the current war plans. And Bradley says yes, that this is a war plan conceived by the Lord himself, and that he has ordered a direct attack on the fortress in 3 days. The Minotaur says that humans are terrifying for using a strategy like the empty city, and that the Lord has given them an important mission. A little disappointed, the secretary asks if he really understands, and smiling, the Minotaur says he doesn't understand, that he is impressed, while Bradley, in shock, says that he really doesn't understand. The man thinks that even 10 Minotaurs don't have half a brain, but why would he propose a plan to attack the fortress first and then hand it over? Then he asks if earlier it was him who made the attack plans that were suggested, and the creature asks if it's that plan, explaining that of course not, that they Minotaurs don't like using their brains. He explains that it was proposed by one of the human tools they captured, and it seems he is one of the human generals, but he said it's a stupid and futile plan, so he was going to cut him down. The secretary asked him to wait a moment, and he says that there are some things he would like to hear from this man. He thinks that this plan is clearly flawed, an invasion in broad daylight. The Lord must be joking, but if his suspicions are correct, Lord Lucius is trying to kill someone, in other words, to destroy while he can. It was night, and someone was saying it was very cold. It was Lytis, the traitor to humanity, who thanked God that her captor was a brainless Minotaur, and that he had agreed. If it works, the Lord will see her true value, and the demon army will seriously consider any service she offers, and that there is no doubt that Lytis can become someone great. Suddenly, someone appears, saying, "Don't think bad things, poor human, you will help me as soon as possible." And he adds that it is because the plan she proposed was rejected, and in exchange, the Lord has ordered a direct attack on the fortress in 3 days. Exalted, the woman says that this is not possible. She then states that a frontal attack in broad daylight on an invincible fortress is completely impossible. Bradley orders her to be quiet and says that all he wants to know is how to make it possible, and if she fails to accomplish the task, he will separate her head from her body and add it to his collection. The girl trembles with fear. Then she thinks that he must be a baldy the Lord wants to get rid of, but saying that could dig her own grave, and that she must quickly think of a reason why the Lord is planning a frontal attack in 3 days. But why 3 days? When suddenly, she seems to understand something. She thinks that is a brilliant plan by the Demon King, an incredible and unparalleled elaborate battle strategy, finding a spiritual and intellectual synchronization with the Demon Lord in the honor of the unforgettable Lytis. Now calmly, she says, "I understand the Demon Lord's intentions." And she says, "My Lord, in 3 days, feel free to attack as the Demon Lord plans." Then 3 days later, outside the invincible fortress, someone calls for Lord Bradley. A small creature says that it found no signs of magic around the fortress and that this huge fog will naturally disappear. It questions how this sudden fog appear, and the girl says that this fog might be one of the Demon Lord's considerations. She explains that since the fortress is near the sea, it is natural for this type of fog to occur, and that it can easily conceal their approach, and that the Demon Lord decided to attack on this day because they would be occupied using these perfect conditions, concluding that he is extraordinary. The woman says that he knows there is a dwarven wine festival being held on this day. Probably everyone will be very drunk today, and all the defenses of this invincible fortress have been practically updated. Then she questions if he is planning based on his opponent's habits. Meanwhile, inside by the invincible fortress, someone wonders how this could happen, and the dwarven princess says, "What?" She seems to be quite drunk, but still very excited. She asks for another mug and shouts that she wants more, until someone throws a bucket of water over her. She shakes her head, a little embarrassed, and questions what kind of idea that was, asking who is looking to die by throwing cold water on the princess. A soldier asks how she can be like this now, even knowing that the front lines are in trouble. She, embarrassed, realizes it was the Grand Marshal. The man says that they have strict control over alcohol. How did she manage to drink so much? And she, sarcastically, repeats, "How did you manage to drink so much?" She explains that the beer festival is the most important holiday of the dwarven race. That's why they replace water with things from this warehouse so they can drink freely. The exalted man says that she is reckless and that people die from drinking. Shoving a barrel, he asks, "Die from drinking?" Rolling the barrel, she tells him to stop looking down on them. Suddenly, it seems that the alcohol has taken a little effect, and she ends up falling flat on her face. The man shouts for her men to quickly be put on alert to protect the fortress, that they must not let the enemies take advantage of this opportunity and attack the fortress using the fog. The girl is impressed and says that he is really very perceptive. She explains that drinking more wine makes dwarves stronger and grander, and that just a few more rounds will make this lady destroy the Demon King's city. Suddenly, a huge pink liquid falls on her, catching her by surprise. Confused, she asks the Grand Marshal what that is, but she is startled when she sees the man inside that sphere of pink liquid. Looking around, she questions if this is possible. She looks up and thinks, "Don't tell me this is happening." Then she sees that an enemy attack is indeed happening. Radley says that it was unexpected, but that the Demon Lord's plan hit the mark. The frontal attack is actually proving to be easy. The man squeezes some kind of pink slime in his hands. Around the princess, some things begin to rise from the ground. That pink slime starts wrapping around her feet, creeping upward, and eventually, it completely restrains her. Far away in the Demon King's palace, our hero sips a hot drink. Thinking that the coffee in this world tastes very good, he wonders just how sweet it really is. She thinks that today is the day of the attack on the invincible fortress. How can he be casually munching on sweets without a hint of concern? He even eats cake right in front of her, and the girl starts to think that he might be eating the cake as a metaphor for the attack. It is as if the strawberries were part of the invincible fortress and he could devour them whenever he wanted. Our hero notices that the woman is watching, and he asks the saint if she would like to eat with him, catching her off guard. She asks what he's trying to do and questions if he puts something strange in the cake to make people lose themselves, but Lucius says no. The girl asks if he's trying to win her over with a piece of cake. She says that he is underestimating her, but the next moment she seems quite happy with a small piece of cake. She thinks that there is no problem in eating it, that this food belongs to the enemy army, so she's just taking their rations. She realizes that she is becoming completely addicted to that cake and that every detail of its taste and texture in her mouth makes her marvel at it. When he is dishonest, his lover speaks for him and eating and drinking are not a problem. She asks the Lord if he isn't even a little worried about what is happening outside, but he responds, questioning whether it's worth paying attention to the fortress. The girl says that it is being attacked by his army, which has spent years growing stronger, and our hero says that he believes she is the only one worried. He asks if she thinks the troops cannot stand against the fortress and still claim victory. He explains that he expects there to be casualties and that the fortress artillery was merely for show. Walking to the window, he tells the sink to contain her anxiety. Today they will definitely bring good news for both of them. Suddenly the dark elf enters, called in for the Demon Lord, and bowing respectfully, she says she has reports from the battlefront. Then he turns to Polly and says, "See, what did I tell you?" He explains that just as he said, the invincible fortress was actually empty, that a strange father appeared in the area today, completely obscuring the attack operation, and of course, the dwarves were completely drunk. Thanks to his brilliant command and leadership, the troops were able to capture the fortress in less than a day. Our hero remains at the window, lost in thought. The elf thinks that it is a noble gesture. He didn't show any reaction even upon hearing the news of such a wonderful victory. That is what is expected of the Demon Lord. Suddenly, he turns around, calling for Freem. Lucius says that, just as he had suspected, the artillery was merely decorative. The elf confirms it, saying that his troops confiscated the fake artillery, and she adds that since no one can operate it, isn't a problem. Our hero has a rather simple reaction. Desperately thinks, what the hell? A fog? A wine festival? None of this makes sense. These are not the reports I wanted to hear. Freem says that Bradley must be bringing even more good news, that the success of this battle has boosted the morale of their troops and that they continue advancing. Holly thinks that not even half a month has passed. There is no doubt that they have already captured half of the Rathman plains. The girl seems a bit shocked by this information. Our hero is startled. realizing that the result was far better than the attack that occurs in the original game scenario, and that occupying half of the plains is one of the necessary conditions to turn the saint into a goddess. He curses while sipping his coffee and trembles, telling himself to calm down. The elf wonders why Lord Lucius is so quiet and if what he is drinking is really just coffee. She concludes that it isn't just coffee, and that what she is seeing now is only what he wants her to see. Her view of the Lord is that this act of drinking coffee demonstrates to how trivial and insignificant he considers what's happening. Looking out the window, he's trying to say that this momentary victory doesn't matter, only the future does. Then she thinks that there is no doubt he has also entrusted her with both military and civil leadership. She feels embarrassed for losing control over such a small victory, especially as the civil and military leader of the Dina army. The elf bows respectfully and says, "I understand, Your Majesty." She concludes that this is bad and that she must do something to prevent it from staying this way. Our hero says that he understands the situation and that Mr. Bradley and Minos have worked hard. He asks her to send a message to the secretary. He says Mr. Bradley is time to return, leaving both women surprised. Sometime later, a creature delivers the message to Bradley, who asks if this is serious, abandoning all advantages and conquests. And he asks if the creature is joking with him, but the creature says no, that this is the message. The Minotaur once again does not understand the situation, but Bradley, irritated, says that all of this will have been in vain if they do not capitalize on their victory now. The creature says it understands. Then he orders all the soldiers to be brought there, and if anyone resists, he will take care of them. That little creature happily flies away. He asks if it even listened to anything he said, and says that it is certain, but he is interrupted. The Minotaur says that he should understand. Following His Majesty's orders is how a minister should act, and there must be a reason for this order. He adds that the human user Great Brain analyzes His Majesty's intentions, and the girl, embarrassed, affirms it. The girl thinks that she is really on the Demon King's side. No matter how she thinks about it, it makes no sense for him to abort this attack, unless it's for another reason. Suddenly, she believes she understands the situation. Then she thinks that the wisdom of the Demon Lord flows like a current into her sterile mind and that she is honored to receive his blessing. She explains that these are like steps 1 and 2, a strategic concession from the game. Bradley questions this while the Minotaur searches for the so-called battlefield game. The girl tells the knights to look at this map and see the answers to their questions. Now that they have captured the fortress, everything has changed. And if they continue advancing and attacking like this, the Alliance will be powerless against the assault. She explains that the security of that location is crucial for the Alliance order, and they would take a risk by sending only a small force to defend it. To protect the fortress, a small troop would be required, and they could support the other battlefronts at that moment. Even if they occupy most of the plains with a direct invasion, does His Highness really want to take advantage of those ruins? Bradley explains that he does not doubt anything about His Majesty. On the contrary, he will immediately order his demons to retreat. The girl apologizes and asks what happened to the gift she wanted to send to His Majesty. The man says that her proposal is being prepared, and that at this moment, it should be reaching the Demon Lord's castle. That dark elf says that Bradley is beginning the retreat, while our hero says he understands. Feeling deeply relieved, Lucius thanks the gods that it worked. He would have been crushed by an enraged saint, and he thinks he couldn't handle another surprise. Then the elf adds that she didn't mention the last surprise for His Majesty. Someone curses in their thoughts as a trembling foot appears. And thanks. Surprise, that's right. They all state that she sent a gift along with the battlefield reports. Completely embarrassed, our hero says, "Damn, so this woman is what they are calling a gift." This is the dwarf Princess Priscilla, a character included in a mission with the same trap as the saint. If Priscilla dies, half of the plains fall into the player's hands, and she quickly becomes a goddess who wipes out the demon city, but she was only supposed to appear in the middle of the game. This is going badly. They all say that they must now interrogate Princess Priscilla and force her to reveal all the valuable information she possesses. She adds that she has wanted to interrogate this rigid and hot-tempered dwarf for a long time. Polly seems troubled by the situation, and she thinks that even though Princess Priscilla was captured, she assumed that the order to retreat was a trick by the Lord, but seeing the princess there, she realizes it was not. Unable to hold it in, she begins to cry. Polly thinks that only God knows what will happen to the princess in the hands of the elf, the unshakable daughter of Priscilla and her merciless inquisitor. But suddenly, our hero says, "Wait a minute," and he continues, saying that you will question the dwarf princess personally, leaving the elf surprised. But she bows respectfully and says that it is fine for the Demon Lord. As Minister of Intelligence, she failed when she missed the information about the invincible fortress. And now His Majesty is taking on the work of interrogating her subordinate. In her imagination, she sees the Lord saying that he could replace her with a pig, and the work would still be done well. Our hero tells Freen that for now, that is all, and that she may withdraw. But he becomes confused as she still stands there, trembling. He says, "Lady Freen," and insists, calling her name louder, until she finally snaps out of it and says, "Yes, Your Majesty." Devastated, the elf slowly withdraws while our hero understands nothing. A long time later, in the luxurious quarters, the princess thinks that they used a spell that prevents her from freeing herself, and the bindings are too tight. She seems to be struggling hard to free herself and realizes that the more force she uses, the tighter they become. She thinks that they never had a chance to use their artillery due to the demon's surprise attack during the wine festival. If she had known before, she wouldn't have drunk so much that day and would be a little more presentable than she is now. Someone shouts from outside asking if she is listening. Two people are talking outside discussing His Majesty's great plan to capture the fortress, and the other questions whether there was a traitor there. He asks if His Majesty's right hand wasn't a saint. The princess thinks that Polly wouldn't have been captured like that, and even if she was, why would she become a traitor to the alliance? Someone welcomes the great demon, while the princess wonders if that is truly the great demon lord. And shocked, she realizes that it really is Polly standing there with him. Finally, our hero removes the gag from the girl's mouth. The princess immediately starts shouting, asking when the girl's black robes are and telling her not to say she actually became a traitor. Our hero says that this king wants to discuss some things with her and asks if dwarves even know how to speak. But she continues asking if the girl is using information to help the king, and if so, does she know what the demon wants? Is it the secret of their firearms or information about the false artillery? She continues, saying that no one expected this to happen. Then she screams in despair, while Lucius wonders who forced her to wear that outfit. Crying, she says that it will never be, as if that trickster trusted her entire mind to the demon king, or perhaps half of it. It seems that something is surprising the princess, and she wants to question it. Finally, she asks, "Was this wine?" Shocked, the girl asks if he is serious because the greatest desire of dwarves isn't forging, it's bathing in wine, and our hero says yes. She explains that the art of winemaking is no less complicated than forging. For example, this one is entirely new to dwarves. Then she says she expected dark beer to be something from the demon race. Our hero explains that it has nothing to do with that. It's just a matter of replacing some ingredients. Offering her a drink, he asks if she would like some. Lucius thinks he must be joking if he expects her to forge weapons for them. The best option is to let her eat and drink for free here. The princess takes it and licks her lips. But the next moment she becomes suspicious of something. She asks if he doesn't know that dwarves are the embodiment of diligence. Nothing will make them surrender and kneel. Then she adds that more important than this diligence is that she, as a noble dwarf, will unravel the inexplicable and terrifying brewing processes of demon beer. A bit tense about the situation, she stares at the mug of beer. She thinks that this beer is very dark, and how could it have such a strong fragrance? As she drinks, she ponders the entire combination of aromas, coffee, wood, and wheat, all blending refreshingly. She thinks that it is a bit sour, like coffee beans, yet a little sweet, and that all of it is filling her mouth. That makes her drift off into another world. While she enjoys herself, our hero simply watches. With a satisfied smile, he thinks that it was a success. The girl says that this isn't just a new beer and asks if he thinks he will receive praise from dwarves like them. That it takes courage, for she is the daughter of dwarves. He says that he has heard a lot about dwarven brewing techniques and believes that if combined with demon technology, they could uncover more mysteries about it. The two agree. Lucius says that now that she is accepted, all the demon craftsmen will obey the princess in everything she desires. She is surprised and asks if they are all available for her to use. She thinks that even in the aristocratic clan, they wouldn't have so many resources just for creating a new drink, so she'll make a lot of it. Sometime later in the back gardens of the demon fortress, the princess explains that this is how it happened. At first she resisted, but in the end she received a lot of wine and became the beverage administrator. In disbelief, Polly asks if that is why she became the servant of the demon king. Priscilla then explains that yes, it was only for development. She created a new drink, but no dwarf can resist that temptation. She asks if the girl isn't also a servant, while Polly protests, saying no. The princess says that she dressed as a maid before and also heard what the demons said. Was she who leaked the information about the fortress? Embarrassed, Polly says that she suspected she was the only one who leaked information some time ago and that she still has hope. She believes she is just overthinking things and that in reality, it must be something else. The princess questions whether she is saying that with such an expression because she believes she is the greatest traitor of the allied forces due to the fall of the invincible fortress. Suddenly, the princess seems to realize something. She says yes because nothing can be done about her alcoholism. Polly questions this and the princess continues, saying that it is not important and that they should just forget it. The girl seems exhausted. She says, "Princess Priscilla, believe it or not, I did not consciously reveal any secrets to him." She explains that the demon lord seems gentle on the surface and that all of it is an act to appear that way. She says that he has enormous hypnotic power and unexpected wisdom. She was manipulated by that unknown spiritual magic and thus unconsciously leaked the information. She concludes that he is a pervert and trash, but he is also a very nice lord. That demon lord is a pervert. He is also a protagonist of a shonen. As the two girls hold each other's hands, Polly explains that they need to be careful, because today he asked her to develop a drink and tomorrow he might unconsciously force her to develop conquest plans. She thinks that back then, it could have developed into something like that or something similar. Our hero watches the two girls lost in his imagination. Polly feels a bit embarrassed as the princess wonders what's going through her head. The princess thinks that her expression does not look like she is lying. The saint of the church has a strong will, and from the looks of it, the demon king has the power level of a demigod. But to give up such a large winery, the princess says that of course they are different and questions whether she really thinks it is all about the wine because, in truth, this is meant to paralyze the demon king. Polly asks what she really wants to do and whether it has something to do with the alchemic cannons. Stammering a little, the princess says that yes, it has to do with the cannons. She says that she couldn't move the weapons when she was captured, so she accepted his proposal to find an opportunity to locate and destroy the cannons. Polly becomes thoughtful as the princess watches her with a suspicious expression. She questions that look and doubts whether the princess does not believe her. Suddenly, she moves toward the princess and says that this is great. Hugging the girl, she says that she is not the same as her because in reality she is hiding there. The gold is the sacred staff of ages. The princess asks if that is not a divine artifact of the church. How could such a thing have fallen into the hands of a demon army? Polly says that's exactly, and that she allowed herself to be captured to get closer to the staff. But despite being very careful, she still fell victim to the demon king's hypnotic powers. Priscilla then wonders if she heard correctly. Was she captured on purpose, or is she just going crazy? Catching Priscilla off guard, the girl says that they have a similar goal. The princess will destroy the cannons, while she will retrieve the sacred staff. Once they succeed, they will be together in the demon castle. She hugs the girl tightly, pressing against that soft area. She says that tomorrow she will do her best to cooperate with the demon king, letting him play with her to create opportunities. The princess tells her not to go too deep in the wrong directions. Then she asks Polly to let her go because she is suffocating. A goblin was watching from the bushes and thought that the princess should stay right there. Some time passes and someone asks what happened. The goblin explains that he heard everything clearly. Our hero asks if he is saying that Priscilla will destroy the cannons and that a human is coming to steal the sacred staff. The goblin confirms that this is correct. Excited, the creature thinks that his years of hard work cleaning the courtyard might finally be well rewarded with this information. Our hero says that he has never seen such ingratitude. Among even the most terrifying races of hell, nothing compared to this. If they escape, it will be bad for his army, until someone calls for his majesty. Praying, Polly says, 5-star rating, this is what I really want. Smiling, our hero says that he understands. How could he forget that they also plan to escape? The goblin, smiling, thinks that his majesty has smiled, meaning his future is secure. He says that keeping the two there would eventually cause trouble, and that he needs to send them back. Their plan to escape was just as he expected. He says that the cannons are indeed a problem that must be destroyed, and perhaps the entire armory is also a problem, or even a whole castle. The goblin thinks he understood the words, but doesn't know what he means by that and wonders if he might have misheard something. Finally smiling, Lucius says that the information is very valuable, and that, for that reason, he must keep an absolute secret. That creature feels deeply intimidated by our hero and stammers a yes, and suddenly, a massive energy blast shoots through the creature. From the other side of the room, Lucius orders him to keep it a secret forever, and since they want to cause trouble, let them have a chance. Our hero shakes his fingers, which are still smoking. Sometime later, Polly wonders if the Lord wants her to clean up the back garden, and the goblin says it has been neglected for a long time and that she must take care of it. Startled, she thinks that he asked her to trim the back garden, and the goblin also tells her that the treasure room is not far from the back garden, and he adds that she must not go near it. Very excited, Polly exclaims, "The treasure room, I remember, that's where the staff is kept." Before leaving, something catches the goblin's attention, and the girl says she is heading off now, thinking that if the Lord made such a mistake, she will take advantage of it. There might not be another chance. Polly turns and begins walking through the garden. She thinks that she will pretend to be pruning the garden, but when she gets an opportunity, she will sneak into the treasure room. She says that she believes it is not just any ordinary place in the demon castle. Surprised, she thinks she hasn't seen all those plants before and wonders if they all belong to the demon world. Either way, pruning should be easy, just cutting off a few unpleasant branches. It shouldn't be dangerous at all. She plans to finish everything quickly so she can get to the treasure room. With the movement of the pruning shears, she cuts one of the flowers, when suddenly something moves and catches her attention. A tree screams that it hurt. Shocked, she asks if the tree is alive. The irritated tree lunges at her and traps her with all its vines. The tree wraps around her and licks her off the ground as she protests, screaming for it to let her go. When she reaches the top, the tree obeys and lets her go, causing her to fall straight toward the ground. She lands flat on her back in the garden. While on the ground, something catches her attention, and looking to the side, she wonders what those fruits are. A little suspicious, she watches as one of the fruits starts vibrating, then it explodes in her face. She exclaims that Una fruits explode. It's just as expected of the demon world. Una plants are disgusting, and now her clothes will be hard to wash. Frightened, she suddenly realizes that the fruit is corroding her clothes, and she realizes she needs to get out of there immediately. As she crawls away, she places her hand on something strange, and is shocked when a giant man-eating plant emerges. The plant grabs the girl and restrains her, lifting her off the ground. Suddenly, a hand appears from the bushes. After that, she starts dragging herself away from that place, asking what kind of pervert with terrible taste would plant such a thing. Determined, she says that she cannot stop there. Then she notices that she smells something sweet. Looking toward an open field, she sees a flower illuminated by the sun's rays. The scent seems to be coming from there, and she thinks that she never expected to find such a white and pure flower inside the Demon King's castle. In such a dark environment filled with strange plants, it still manages to grow so vibrantly. She says that it must be very lonely. She clasps her hands together and begins to pray, thinking that it is like her, trapped in enemy territory, until suddenly, she hears someone calling her name. Looking up, she realizes it is His Holiness, the Pope, and she wonders why he is there. She questions whether he was captured too, but the man tells her to calm down. And smiling, he says, "It is all over." The next moment, she finds herself floating above a forest with the Pope. She looks down in shock, and then she realizes that below them is the Demon King's encampment. Polly asks why there is no one there. Why does everything look so dilapidated? The Pope says that this is the Sacred Army. He points upward, and several angels appear flying in formation. Then he declares that their Sacred Army has defeated the Demon Army, and even the Demon King's fortress has been conquered by his forces. Holly asked in surprise if her people were there when this happened. The man says, "Child, you have worked hard with the Demon Army for a long time. We know you are strong and that you would never betray them. Now they have managed to capture the Demon King." Holly looks surprised by this information. In the next moment, they are in a square in a city, with the Demon King imprisoned behind her. The Pope says they are conducting his final judgment. No one would be happy to see this kind of composition. Frightened, she says, "Your Majesty, the white beast," and asks the Pope if they really captured the demon alive. The man says yes, and that it was all thanks to the infiltration work she did. Then the girl asks if he will be left to her. Handing her a whip, the man says yes, that she would enjoy it more than he would. Surprised, she thinks, "You will enjoy it more, Your Holiness." And she smiles at the situation. Polly begins whipping the demon while he cries out for help, saying that it hurts. Someone asks for mercy, saying that no one will enjoy seeing such a scene. Suddenly, a vinyl glove holding a whip, appears. Dressed in a slightly indecent way, she orders him to scream as she whips him. Laughing, she says he can scream as much as he wants because no one will come to save him. Then she tells him to scream as loud as he can, saying that it will excite her more, while our hero thinks, "I gave her a chance, but she was completely useless." The elf explains that she accidentally touched an extremely powerful illusion flower, and its scent put her into a dream shaped by her deepest desires. He comments that it's a bit warm. The girl continues and asks why he stopped screaming if he is such a powerful demon king. The elf gets angry and calls her a bastard, asking how she dares to disrespect an emperor even in an illusion, and our hero tells her to calm down. Frayne thinks that she would never dare to imagine something like that, while our hero feels embarrassed. Polly continues, saying, "Yes, that's the expression, and that begging won't help." Hugging a pillow, she asks if he has ever felt the wonder of being a man. Polly seems to be crying, and hugging the princess, she says she can't continue. Desperate, Priscilla tells her that they should talk about it, saying that if things continue like this, she won't be able to continue either. Then the princess questions her, asking if she has ever had a fantasy about the Demon King, since she created illusions of this kind. Polly says she has never had any fantasy about him. While the princess thinks about others, she wonders what must be going through Polly's mind. Then she concludes that the girl lost a great opportunity, but fortunately, she has another plan. When it comes to escape techniques, no one can stop the dwarfs. Priscilla says that when she went to the winery today, she found something very useful, and she shows it to her friend. Is a very useful shovel. Polly looks a bit disappointed. Crying desperately, she says she can't continue, while Priscilla, irritated, says that if she has any complaints, she should just say them. Disappointed, she says, "You humans have no idea how powerful this thing can be." And she begins to explain to Polly that she has already measured everything. She knows the distance from the warehouses to their bed. She knows the distance they need to reach the armory. They will dig a tunnel from the warehouse to the armory, destroy the cannons, and taking the staff won't be a problem. Very excited, she adds that entering and leaving the demon castle will then be very easy. In another place nearby, the hero says, "I thought of everything, but digging a 3-kilometer tunnel is too much," and wonders if, by chance, those two have suffered some kind of head injury. He says that by the time they finish digging this tunnel, the demons will probably have conquered half the continent, so he needs to do something. He calls for the guards, and a small goblin in a maid outfit comes running. Some time passes after that. The princess then says, "You want me to forge something? I am Priscilla, the queen of the dwarfs. As a dwarf, I have my pride, and I will not serve demons. Unless it's for alcohol," she adds, saying that she believes she can hold on to her pride until the end. Then the creature says that it is an order from the emperor. Today she can put alcohol aside and go to the storage to gather the necessary materials for forging. The two girls look at each other and think, storage. She thinks that based on Polly's experiences, it won't be exactly simple. And Polly is a little off in that moment, while the princess, curious, wonders what must be going through her head. Suddenly the princess thinks that this might be an opportunity. They cannot lose it, no matter what must be done. Sometime later, she arrives at the storage room, and Priscilla notices that there are no inspectors, not even a supervisor or attendants. She is surprised that she could simply arrive and walk in. She curses the Demon King, thinking that he might have just tricked her and led her to some random place. Suddenly, something catches her attention. She wonders why that thing looks familiar. All of a sudden, a thing starts struggling, leaving her desperate. Thinking for a moment, she believes she knows as those things begin to spread all over her. She realizes that it is a material that when processed becomes the best of all for making a whip. Then, unexpectedly, it completely wraps around her, trapping her. The girl falls face first to the ground, wondering why she keeps finding these things that squeeze her. But when she opens her eyes there on the floor, she seems to have found something interesting. Heartmother stone iron, very rare. Even empty an entire mine, one might not find something like this. As she realizes it, she notices that the storage room is filled with an enormous amount of rare minerals. She wonders if this is everything they looted from half a continent. The next moment, she realizes that it is. Andrew Link, she says that she really wants to join him. Then, she looks filled with envy. As she watches from there, still tied up, a storage room full of riches, and her image is reflected in a staff nearby. As she remains there, struggling, that staff emits a light, and she wonders what it is complaining about her eyes. A voice says that she was able to notice its presence. It seems that the Lord's will has united them. The girl says it would be strange not to notice and asks for it to turn off. The staff then dims its light and agrees. As she frees herself from those bindings, she observes the staff, and she wonders if that could be the legendary staff used by countless holy figures ranked from saints to demigods, which would be the sacred orichalcum staff. Approaching, she picks up the weapon. She says that, as the most holy Polly requested, she is there to take it back. And the staff says that, as it fought, it was the Lord who united them. Continuing, the staff says, "Would you like to know the current situation? You don't want the demon lord to discover me, do you?" And it explains that, although it is unfortunate in many ways, hiding would still be the best solution so that she does not have to worry about the details. Some time passes in the castle. Meanwhile, in the Demon King's workshop, she thinks that the management of the demon army is very flexible. Even without inspections, she has discovered that this provides a great chance for success. Then she says, "Lord Staff, according to the demon lord's arrangements, you need to stay here. For now, she intends to work hard forging, and then during the night's rest, she will secretly take it from there." The staff seems to evaluate the situation and says it understands, and that is unfortunate in many ways. Irritated, she asks what it is talking about, saying that it is a large staff. Where could she even hide it? But in the next moment, she seems to have an idea. A long time later in the demon castle, she arrives at the palace's workshop, and it seems that someone else is there as well. The dark elf says that she needs hundreds of those spears forged, and someone stares at her. The princess thinks that it is the dark elf and that she has heard of her before, but is the first time she has seen her, so she hopes not to be noticed. In the next moment, the dark elf asks why there is a dwarf there, and the goblin explains that she is the captured princess, and that he heard her forging skills were excellent. Then, quite excited, she approaches the girl. Giving her a hard slap, she calls out to Princess Priscilla. The elf says that for him to have been able to tame a temperamental dwarf in such a short time was expected of His Highness, and the princess asks what she wants. The elf says that now she belongs to His Majesty, so of course, she does not want anything. But the opportunity to train a dwarf is quite tempting. Feeling around the girl, she asks what this hard and thick thing is. Then the elf seems to have found something, and she asks if, by any chance, the princess is hiding something. She asks what that staff full of secret aura is, if, by any chance, it is necessary for forging weapons for His Highness. The staff seems a little excited about the situation. The princess wonders if everything in the church looks like that. In the next moment, she becomes worried and says that she cannot let go of it, and that if she is caught stealing the staff, she might end up dead or worse. And the watery as a whole will be taken back by the Demon King. The princess says that's correct, to melt down this staff filled with sacred energy to create a weapon, which will be given to His Highness. The staff, desperate, asks what that dwarf girl is talking about. Afraid, the staff says, "Melt me down." As the weapon protests, telling her to stop, the princess apologizes to the sacred staff and says that this is a test from the Lord for him. The staff says that this is not a test from the Lord despite everything. A shaft saying that she must be a demon in disguise who is there to torture him. With a huge hammer ready to destroy him, he says he confesses to everything. He says that he made the nuns take him to the bathroom under the pretense of cleaning him. He also says that he saw something compromising in the church, the Pope and the Cardinal having a bayonet duel. And beyond that, he reveals a few more things that are practically impossible to understand. One beautiful morning in the Demon King's castle, Polly paces back and forth, wondering why Priscilla hasn't returned yet. Then she questions whether she might already be. And in her imagination, she sees the princess on her knees, begging for a little more drink, saying she'll do anything. As she wipes her tears, she thinks that she may never come back. Then the princess arrives and says, "Your sacred holiness, you're still here." Overly excited, Polly shouts for the princess, startling her. Hugging the girl tightly and squeezing her, she says she's so happy she didn't end up in the Demon King's bed. And the girl asked why she would end up in a place like that. Anyway, Priscilla says she has good news. She has prepared everything to retrieve the staff for Polly today. Desperate, the girl asks if it's true, and Priscilla responds that it is, but that good news is usually accompanied by bad news. She says it's because it seems to be a little. Showing the staff, she says it looks different. All Polly screams in shock, "Lord Sacred Staff." The staff screams, saying that it's all her fault that he looks like this. How could he ever be a staff again? And Priscilla says it was inevitable to deceive the dark elf. Polly, desperate, says that she can't turn the sacred staff into something like that. While he questions if that's how she chooses to use such adjectives, Priscilla tells her to relax and that this is just a method she used on the staff, similar to illusions created by demons, that it can be removed whenever they want. Then the staff asks if that is really something that should be removable. The girl continues and says that not only has she hidden the staff's powerful magical aura, she has also added new functions. Placing her hand over the staff's eyes, she says, for example, she explains that after a long day of work, it can be used for a relaxing massage or even to spray water, making it a multifunctional tool. And operating the stat, it emits an energy. Finally, it has become a digging tool. Polly calls it Lady Sacred Shovel, while the stat screams, "No, you must not say my name so randomly." Elsewhere, our hero says that those two are completely unreliable. He realizes that it seems impossible to come up with any trick with them. It's better to just hand things over to them directly. A few hours later at the palace, he says that the blade is very well forged and that the dwarves' forging skills are truly legendary for having been able to craft such a weapon in just a few days. The princess thinks it was a waste, but the materials were so good that even without much effort, she created an excellent weapon. The princess then says that if there's nothing else, she's leaving, while the elf calls her a scoundrel and asks how she dares to be so rude. Our hero tells her not to be in such a hurry to leave, saying that he recognizes her skill. He tells her that he has another, much more important task. He asks her to create war weapons for him and explains that alchemically created cannons have been sent there, and that he has great interest in this type of weapon. But Priscilla says she had already mentioned from the beginning that it's simply impossible. Lucius says he is leaving this job entirely to her, and the only thing he cares about is the final result. She thinks that he is leaving the alchemical cannons to her, which means she could dismantle him. She considers that if she accepts, she will become a great traitor like Polly, who leaked secret fortress information. The elf wonders if the Lord is directly trusting the dwarf. To be honest, she is surprised that the dwarf accepted building the weapons, and that this kind of large-scale construction would certainly be rejected by the girl. As a subordinate, she needs to protect the emperor's reputation in case the girl dares to refuse. She imagines herself stepping on the princess, and drilling a little, she thinks that now she has a good reason to teach the girl a lesson. Then, determined, the dwarf says that she agrees. The elf is surprised and asks if she is really agreeing. She suggests that she think it over again, but Priscilla says she doesn't understand the elf's position. She thinks, what a disaster. This is probably because His Majesty has been taking every opportunity for torture lately. Then she considers that the elf seems a bit restless and impatient. Our hero thinks he is getting used to the fact that no one in that castle is mentally stable. Suddenly, Priscilla tells the Demon King that she can promise him, but how the cannons will be used will depend on her. Pointing at him, she tells him not to go back on his words. So Lucius says that he is the Demon King and promises her, and he appoints her as the chief maid of weapon development. Priscilla seems to like the idea quite a bit. A long time later, someone calls for His Majesty. The elf says that his subordinate speaks well, but that dwarf cannot be fully trusted, and that even though she is verbally accepted, who knows what she is planning, she could become an obstacle to their army. Lucius asks the woman if she thinks his decision was rushed, and if he should reconsider, and she responds that she wouldn't dare suggest that. Our hero says that he needs to trust those he employs and wait for their results, and that he believes Priscilla will not disappoint him. He thinks conspiracies, obstacles. The more of this, the better. Leaving Priscilla alone with the cannons may seem suspicious and might make it easier for people to secretly monitor her. He thinks that he needs to assign someone from the demon army to be her assistant. Fram says that this is the list of talents in the army involved in weapon development. She points to Kalashnikov, who stood out for having deciphered the schematics of the cannons, and Einstein, who designed a super weapon capable of destroying cities. And then there's Sir Maxim, who stopped being a doctor and became a weapon developer. Our hero is surprised, asking why these names sound so familiar. Placing his hand on his head, he throws the papers aside, while the elf asks if those people are unreliable. But Lucius thinks that they are too reliable. There are no precedents for these cannons in the game's history, and with these characters, things could escalate to godlike levels quickly. He proceeds to mark some of them as rejected, and finally asked about a specific demon. The elf explains that her name is Ashina, and that she is a dropout from the military academy, specializing in equipment. And our hero says, dropout. Frim confirms, saying that she left before the first semester ended, explaining that she spends all day lounging around and doesn't work, that she will soon be expelled. Lucius thinks expelled, lazing around all day, so she's a slacker. And looking at her picture, he wonders if this might just be the talent he's been looking for. Slamming his hand on the table, he stands up excitedly and orders the elf to bring him this girl. Sometime later in the demon castle, a girl says, "Your Majesty, Your Excellency." Very nervous and adjusting her glasses, she stutters again, "Your Highness." Even more nervous, she tries to say Majesty again. And finally, struggling, she says, "Aya audience with Ashina." Panicking, she says she messed up. Evaluating the girl, our hero thinks that dazed and confused, she is exactly what he needs. The girl corrects herself, saying, "It is Ashina and an audience with your majesty," bowing but headbutting him in the process. Our hero is left dazed from the impact, while the girl nearly has a meltdown from sheer nervousness. Realizing her mistake, she quickly stands up to apologize, accidentally hitting Lucius's chin in the process. The dark elf exclaims, "How dare you disrespect his majesty right in front of me," and she orders her to follow her to the military office to receive her proper military punishment. The girl stammers, military." Terrified, she thinks, military punishment? And in her imagination, she sees the elf saying that first, there will be 500 lashes, and then she will be hanged for 3 days as an example. The girl becomes more and more anxious and starts to panic. With a runny nose, our hero says that there is no need for punishment because he is very satisfied. The elf is surprised and asks, "What do you mean satisfied, your highness, with this kind of thing?" He asks if it's correct that Ashina has made no contributions to the army in 2 years, and the girl stammers, unable to answer. In shock, she finally says that she understands, and that she will go back to her room now, pack her things, and return to her home in hell. Lucius wonders why she is so desperate to escape, but he explains that he wants to give her a chance, that he recently formed a new weapon development team and needs a chief engineer. The elf scoffs and asks why she doesn't thank his majesty for giving her this chance, as based on her past, she should have already been fired. But, unexpectedly, she says she cannot, leaving her lord surprised. She explains that she is not suited for this role because she hates war and will never develop anything that could kill people. Frink can't take it anymore and says, "Enough." Brandishing her whip, she says that, as a demon, how could she dare to say such treacherous words? But stepping forward, Lucius asks the elf to wait and lets the girl continue. She explains that his subordinate does not like taking lives and asks if all races shouldn't unite. And trembling, she questions, why couldn't all races sit down and have a conversation? Crying, she adds that there could be a way to solve problems peacefully. He thinks that it is no surprise she was expelled, as such a pure thought is rare even among the elves obsessed with purity. But this only makes him even more satisfied. A destructive dwarf and a holy demoness. How could they fail to bring down the demon castle with the two of them together? So he says that her ideas are unorthodox, but is precisely this kind of limitless imagination that he needs, and that she is highly suited for this position. She asks if he really understands her ideals, and our hero replies that he does because he is also a pacifist. Frink is horrified and wonders what he is talking about, as he is the greatest war demon of all time, with the goal of becoming a demon god. He explains that he wants to use war and end all wars, and that while this may seem confusing after so many battles, it's come to a conclusion, and looking toward the future, he says, killing is saving. As the girl shields herself from the light, she questions this, if killing is saving. But she says that she left the academy and didn't complete any normal courses, and she fears she doesn't have enough knowledge for this. Our hero says that it doesn't matter, that he also doesn't like those things, that academies are too rigid and outdated. He thinks that the less she understands, the more confident he feels. Lucius says, I believe that by maintaining the concept of killing to save, Ashina will be able to create extraordinary weapons. Grasping the demon lord's hand, she says, I seem to. And then she concludes saying that she understands his majesty. A long time later, the girl is lying in a luxurious bed while thinking that killing is saving. But she wonders what killing truly is. As she slowly closes her eyes, the war between the realms continues as it has for thousands of years. Soldiers face life and death, and citizens are deeply devastated. Countless lives are lost to war every moment. Many families are separated, and the rivers constantly flow, marked by the scars of war. And in this mad world filled with wars, the wise choose death. Those even wiser choose never to be born at all. But the source of war cannot be changed, and the beginning, where we knew who was right and who was wrong, has been lost to history. She thinks that she cannot bear to see death, but she wonders if abstaining would be useful because killing is saving, eliminating karma, not people. The war to end all wars. Ashina says that she understands. If it is only to take, then that is killing. But if there is no obsession in the heart, then that is saving. Unable to bear the suffering of all beings, raising her blade to cut down evil, what harm could there be in that? She thinks she understands her kind majesty. Suddenly, she realizes something, and notices that something interesting is happening there. But she restrains herself, stating that now is not the time to sleep. Determined, she says that she will not disappoint his majesty, and that she will have compassion in her heart, creating a super weapon that will end all wars. The elf says that today the emperor is also very difficult to understand. Not to mention the decision the other day which changed the regional tax rates in a completely incomprehensible way. No matter how much she thinks about it, it only seems to cut off the supply lines at the front, but she assumes she simply doesn't understand his intentions yet. Suddenly, with trembling legs, someone approaches, and it seems they are carrying many books. All clumsy, the girl approaches, calling out to Freem, and smiling, she thanks the elf, who asks, Sheena. She questions where her glasses are and why so many books, and the girl explains that she switched to contact lenses. She explains that all those books are her assignments at the military academy and that she was naive in her thinking. Now she will dedicate herself to the emperor's weapons. Freem asks what exactly she understood from his highness's words. Ashina says that killing is saving, that one must cut karma and not people, and that with the end of the war, true peace will come. Crying, she says that this is His Highness's kindness. Shocked, she wonders how that girl she once despised underwent such a transformation, and she thinks she cannot fall behind because all of His Majesty's decisions were correct. Frey raises her fist, determined, and she says she cannot disappoint His Majesty's expectations. Sometime later, inside the workshop of the demonic castle, Priscilla thinks that it was a grand gesture, that the Lord not only delivered the cannons but also sent precious metals, and that He truly does not care about what she does. She thinks that He gave too much, and that if she weren't in a field of demons, she could really use this to create real war weapons. But she reflects that for now, the first step is to dismantle the cannon. The secrets are all in the internal structure, and the components must be perfectly replicated. A goblin asks if they will be able to reassemble it, and moreover, the chief engineer is not there, and if that is her order. The princess asks if he does not believe in her and says that she is the only one capable of creating this cannon, besides being deeply involved in it, and the goblin says, but suddenly someone arrives and says, dismantle it, as it is in accordance with the chief engineer's opinion, and she asks if the girl is the chief engineer, Priscilla. While the princess asks who she is, she then explains that she is the deputy chief of the development team, Ashina, and that is a pleasure to meet her. She thought the king had sent someone competent, but this girl does not seem skilled, so she wonders if he just sent anyone, that he's an idiot. Priscilla asks if the goblin heard that, and now that the deputy chief has confirmed the order, she wants them to dismantle the cannon quickly. As they work, they say it is difficult to dismantle, and that they should not separate things randomly, to be careful with the parts. Excited, the girl says, how stupid, come on, it comes off easily. She says Bruce Force works miracles, explains that things made by doors are not fragile, and that the more force they use, the better. Priscilla thinks that there was no reaction from the girl, that this is a useless trick, and that the plan is inefficient. The work continues, dismantling the cannon brutally, while Ashina seems a little pensive. Suddenly, a gear rolls to her feet, and automatically, she begins measuring that piece in her mind. She observes and evaluates the piece in relation to the proportions of that cannon. Ashina thinks that it is as expected from the Lord's favorite chief, such a bold order, and she bets that the chief is like her in the end, and that when one has a photographic memory, it doesn't really matter how you dismantle it. She says that the thick and large barrel is engraved with special runes, and that this is the key to compressing magical energy. There is also a spring that fits into the base of the cannon, allowing it to withstand its own recoil without suffering damage. Ashina continues saying, and more. She thinks it is a masterpiece to be able to see all of that. Then finally the princess says that she is finished. Too excited, unable to control herself. The girl says that at this moment she already understands everything. The goblins ask the chief engineer what the next step would be and whether they can start replicating the parts or if she needs to explain any part of the process. The princess questions what he is thinking. After all this process of dismantling, does he really think she wants them to replicate it? Then she says everyone worked hard dismantling the cannon. To celebrate this, everyone will have 2 days off, have a good rest. The goblin questions the girl's preparations while she asks what the problem is with her preparations. She explains that in the next steps she cannot tolerate any kind of mistake, and how could she proceed without a break, and she thinks that she is almost convincing herself, and that just as a precaution, they will not let them continue researching, not even about that pile of junk. She adds that she needs to think about the next step as well, and that she needs to discuss more weapon development with her deputy chief. That now that they can use the Emperor's army as a base, they need to develop something far more powerful, and that this is also a task for the Lord. With her eyes shining, Ashen says she agrees with the chief engineer. She says she was impressed by the decision to dismantle everything and by her hard work, and that they need to innovate to meet the Lord's expectations. Priscilla agrees, thinking she bought into the idea just like that. Initially, I thought she was just stupid, but I can't believe she was so gullible. She continues, saying this makes everything easier, and that besides this massive cannon, they need to create a smaller weapon that can be used by the squads, and that if this weapon is developed, it will completely change the way war is fought. Ashen, very excited, asks, a weapon that changes the way war is fought. The princess says that's right and that they call it a pistol. She explains that the trigger activates a mechanism that launches a projectile with destructive power, making each soldier wielding it worth of 100 men. Ashen asks if this means fewer soldiers will be needed on the battlefield and that deaths will be greatly reduced. And she thinks that, as expected, she's an idiot. This weapon seems viable, but it only exists in theory, and this is nothing more than a refined and expensive toy. The girl analyzes the design, thinking that it will be greatly affected by recoil, that energy will be lost, and that it will only have enough force to scratch armor. She thinks, but the theory is solid. Maybe I can perfect the design. She analyzes the cannon, which accumulates a great amount of energy in the barrel to fire, and considers using that idea as an example, and that by adding fuel, she can make everything work better. And if that is not enough, she can create more internal space. She could also add some magical material to make it activate upon impact. Finally, she thinks the theory is good, but she needs to run a simulation. Admiring her work, she thinks it is the closest thing to the chief's design, but even better. And the next step is to conduct a power test. Excited, she holds the weapon and fires. She keeps shooting at a rock wall. Then she stops for a second, observing the hole from the impact. And in the next moment, a massive explosion occurs. She concludes that the power is great, but it needs to be reloaded after some time, though it could still be improved if she makes it faster. Sometime later, Ashen thinks that this is just a plan on paper, but once the prototype is made, she will present it to His Highness, who will be pleased. Priscilla thinks, look at her, happy with her rejected project. I hope she keeps wasting her time on this failed endeavor. Sometime later, a hero observes, thinking, one dismantles while the other just watches. I'll be at ease with these two geniuses. And on the other hand, Polly seems to be troubled by something, and she curries through the garden, apparently heading somewhere determined, but suddenly she lets out a scream, falling onto the grass sitting, when suddenly someone asks, saying, are you okay? The girl replies that she is fine, but she needs to find a way out of the Demon King's castle, no matter what. Crying, she thinks that now is not the time to stop, and she starts running through the garden again, until the staff says, watch where you're going. She looks to the side to see what it is, and comes face to face with a large tree in front of her, falling to the ground, sprawled out, thinking that it's really hard. In the town square of Westwood, during the siege of the unyielding fortress, the demon army captured or eliminated 16,332 enemy soldiers. The Legion commanders Minos and Bradley personally led the charge and displayed unparalleled valor. They achieved victory thanks to the Lord's wisdom, but the greatest credit goes to the Flying Demon Legion and Minos, who had been facing them for a long time. Minos, very grateful, says that Bradley is truly a good friend and asks that if His Majesty is to reward them, he should give everything to the man. Our hero thinks that they are acting like friends, and what he really wanted was for them to keep fighting there, not to take the fortress so easily. And he says that, in any case, both made great contributions and will be treated accordingly, receiving great rewards. First, Bradley will no longer serve as a commander in the Menth Legion because it will now be disbanded, and immediately, the man says, yes. But in the next moment, he is horrified by this. Laughing, Lucius tells him not to be so hasty because he has decided to allocate part of the kingdom's territory as a fiefdom for Lord Bradley. They all think that he has only done this for a few nobles so far, and now he has given away an entire territory, which is the most fertile fief in the kingdom. The commander says that the reward is too great and requests reconsideration of it. And smiling, our hero says that he doesn't need to refuse because he deserves all of this. Lucius thinks that this is exactly where a traitor of this level deserves and that he should accept it with gratitude. The kingdom of Marion is not large, but is very fertile, and most importantly, it produces a unique resource, the Flaming Heart Stone, used for weapons. However, since he played the last game, he knows that all of this is nothing more than a sweet, sugary coating. Because this resource is produced there thanks to a fallen god who sleeps beneath this mine, and when they get close to the end of the game, that fallen god beneath the mines of the kingdom of Marion will awaken, and that entire kingdom will be reduced to ashes, and then, without lifting a finger, Bradley and his entire legion will be destroyed. And so there should be no more unforeseen circumstances. As for Lord Minansk is given an internal ministerial position in the Demon King's affairs, leaving the guy confused. Awkwardly, he says that minotaurs don't have brains, that military matters alone are already a headache, and that the Lord can ask anyone, but our hero just smiles with satisfaction. And in the next moment, he unleashes a tsunami of difficult words and complicated explanations at Minos, leaving the creature terrified. Frayne thinks that he is doing this to help Minos grow, and that the Lord truly values his subordinates. A little tense, Minos says that His Highness speaks very well, but he couldn't grasp some of it. Lucius says that, in any case, he has already explained it, and that it's nothing too complicated. He explains to Minos that growth is very important, and that he believes in him. Finally, he had finished with the bluffs, thinking that it's good to give these excuses, but that now something more elaborate might be important. He hopes that the Saints' escape plan is going well. A long time later, a little farther from there, Polly tells the holy staff that they managed to escape from the demonic castle, but the staff tells her be careful. It explains that once they are discovered, they will have no escape and asks if she has a route planned. But Polly says he doesn't need to worry because she paid close attention to the terrain around the city of Westwood, and that by following that direction and turning at the right places, then after about 23,000 steps and a few more turns, they will finally reach another fortress city near the lake. The holy staff says, I think, that those two things have nothing to do with the city, while Polly says that's not possible. She thinks she followed the right directions from her memory, wondering how she could have gotten lost like this. Then the staff says this is not the time to talk about that because those vines over there are already stretching toward them. Those creepers advance against them and wrap around the girl. Polly says that must be part of the demon army, that the demon king must have planted traps throughout the forest, and that she shouldn't have taken the wrong path. The staff says that now is not the time to dwell on that. This is the moment for them to think of a way to escape. Polly seems to be getting really affected by the situation, while the staff calls out to her. The staff shouts for the saint to keep moving while those trees take advantage of the situation, and it continues saying that they are just mid-level monsters that they can't stop now. Polly says that's fine, but at that moment, she is feeling very weak. A long time later, the girl is lying on the ground, flat on her back. It asks the saint if by any chance they are lost, but she says that's impossible. Not even hunting dogs can beat her at finding a path, so how could she get lost here? While the staff asks why she is comparing herself to a dog, she insists that if they keep following that way, they will definitely reach the lake. A little later, the staff asks her if she really calls that a lake, and the girl replies that she somehow thinks so. But suddenly something happens and the two companions realize that this is not water, but rather a slime preparing to attack. As everyone knows, slimes are weak monsters, but they remain dangerous because they can hide in various forms. And even knights in full armor can end up being caught off guard if they are not cautious. The staff continues saying that this should be no problem for a Sing of the church, who holds the 9th ranking, and that her powerful holy magic is effective against them. But something seems to be going differently from what the staff expected. Then it calls out to the Sing, but when it looks, she's lying on the ground, overwhelmed by those green slimes, and then it asks her what she is doing. She responds that she will be swallowed whole, and the staff asks what it means to be swallowed whole. Then she explains that it's when adventurers or elves are completely engulfed by super slimes or tentacle monsters, just like in the books. In no time, those who were swallowed whole lose themselves in the terror and pleasure of that completely enclosed space, and they become shamelessly creative. The staff, exasperated, orders her to calm down first because these slimes are no match for her. He says he didn't expect to encounter monsters twice as fast and wonders if it's really safe, while Polly says she managed to break free. Polly says they are monsters with a demon's aura and that they are all a trap set by the demon lord. And the staff asks how he would know about the escape. She explains that he doesn't understand the Lord's wisdom, that he delights in his games, that he plays with people's hearts, and that he is truly terrible. She didn't expect to reach the city easily, as she already knew he had made preparations, and this is like a cruel cat playing with a mouse. And she says, but he underestimated me, the sanctified one. No matter what happens, she says she will take him back to the Alliance. Then while she was exploring, a red panda appeared and attacked her. And during that fight, that huge bear just wanted a hug, when suddenly, a giant snake joined a battle and coiled around her entirely. After that, she was also trapped by a spider in its enormous web. A long time passed, and the staff asks if the saint is really okay. But she replies that she is, and that despite all that, she didn't suffer any injuries. He becomes thoughtful, realizing she hasn't been hurt after so many attacks, and concludes that the monsters had only one objective and that she must have excellent attributes. More time passes and night falls. The staff says, "Those are the walls, hold on a little longer. We finally reached the city." Jumping, she celebrates that they have finally crossed the forest and escaped from the Demon King's grasp, but he asks her to wait, and he falls silent as he observes the place. Looking at that enormous castle with shadows lurking in the distance, he says that they have just returned to the starting point, and with that the Sanctified One collapses to the ground. According to the timeline, the Sanctified One should have already escaped from the Demon King's control. The cannons were destroyed, the idiot Minos is handling internal affairs, and the defenses were dismantled. Everything is going well. Lucius wonders why he would go to the human world to bring final destruction, and he feels a bit strange not having the saint around. And he can almost hear her voice. Suffering. Polly says that he is a damn demon. And our hero, smiling, says, "That's it. It's her voice." The next moment, reality sinks in and he thinks, "Voice." Looking to the side, he sees Polly collapse on the ground. She cursed the demon king because he intentionally gave her the illusion of escape, but led her into traps, capturing her in the end. Polly says, "Enough already, you prefer mental torture over physical torture. And this was all part of your plan to completely break me, right?" Unable to believe it, he questions how she was caught again and notes that she is the only one who actually enjoys mental torture. Bradley says that he did as ordered, focused on internal defense, and as expected they captured this fugitive, all thanks to His Majesty's foresight. Our hero questions when he ever did or ordered any of that. Mental torture, traps, reorganizing defenses. Suddenly, he realizes that it was Freeman and wonders why she arranged things this way. But pretending, he says that it was good and that Bradley acted well once again, that he truly is the trusted secretary of the king, and the man is pleased. Freem says that they also found and captured the holy staff that was with her and asks if she can execute Polly now, leaving Lucius surprised. The elf explains that this is the army's front line and that she can execute her publicly, or perhaps humiliate her before executing her, which would not only deal a blow to the enemies but also damage the church's influence. But in desperation, our hero shouts no. He thinks, either execute her directly, or humiliate her and then execute her. He finds all these options terrible, and concerned, the dark elf asks His Majesty if she said something wrong, but the man says no. He explains that this will not demoralize the church's order and could even ignite their fury, and a disorganized enemy is easier to handle than a united one. And he says, therefore, the most holy cannot be executed immediately under any circumstances. Freem asks if they haven't sent people to try to rescue her here on the front line, and if it wouldn't be safer to send her back to the castle. Surprise, our hero says, "That's true. The rescue." Smiling, he repeats, saying rescue. He gives the order to escort her back and to place the staff in storage room 3 since he hasn't had the chance to study that relic yet, and the alpha grades. He mentions that there is something more, that he has had some intuitions lately, and that he needs to retreat for now so he can reflect and find enlightenment. While he is away, he will leave everything in her hands. Sometime later, Polly finds herself in a prison, bound by chains. She curses and thinks that she is once again in the dungeon, and to make things worse, they also took the holy staff. She says that these ropes conceal her divine power, and that if even a common goblin chief can contaminate her, she can only imagine what's coming next. And she adds, from the sanctity of the church. She imagines a bunch of goblins telling her to become the saint of all. But she tells herself that this is not the time to think about things like that she cannot give up yet. The creature asks what she is mumbling about, and if she really thinks she can escape, saying that the superiors are taking this seriously. And he says that maybe they'll get some benefits out of it too. Laughing, he adds that she can forget about escaping because no one is capable of infiltrating the Demon King's dungeons, when suddenly, a powerful blow strikes the creature square in the face. The force of the impact sends him flying far away. The monster lies unconscious on the ground with the broken wall behind him. Polly, surprised, asks who it is, and the shadow of a hooded person appears. Amidst the confusion, a man in a mask and dark hood emerges. As he approaches, she calls out to him as Your Holiness. 15 years ago in the church, a girl asked who the Prince Charming was, and the sister said it was just a character and did not refer to anyone. She explained that every young woman would eventually meet him, and young Polly asked if she could meet him too then. That nun confirmed that yes. She told her that, although their bodies and souls must be wholly devoted to the true God in paradise, she concluded by saying that someday she too would find him. Observing the fallen monster in the background, the man says, My most holy, and that when she is in a place of despair, he will be there to save her, risking everything to do so. Kneeling there, defenseless, she pleads for his help, and as the man extends his hand, she asks who he is. She follows up by asking if he knows how dangerous the Demon King's castle is and why he is doing this. Then that man justifies himself, saying he is merely an adventurer passing by, and also that this is why. Because if he does nothing and doesn't get her out of there, she will end up executed, then become a goddess, and he himself will be doomed. He continues, saying, Of course I will, and that compared to the dangers of the demon castle, the most holy is far more important. And the woman asks, I am more important. Polly, slightly blushing, thinks, he wouldn't do this here, would he? And in the next moment, her shackles are broken. As he says that everything is fine now, she becomes a little flustered. Polly thinks she needs to calm down, that he was just helping remove her chains. She says she understands his intentions, but that he doesn't need to save her, and he should escape on his own. The man asks why, and she responds that he won't be able to escape if he takes her with him, that it's not worth risking his life for a disgraced humanity like her. In shock, our hero thinks that he's trying to get her out of there, but she wants to stay. Touching her hand, he tells her not to worry, that no matter the danger outside, he will get her out of there. She turns red and seems enchanted by the situation. In her mind, she sees herself strolling with a man through a peaceful city, and in another moment marrying that masked man. She seems very calm and satisfied with the situation she is imagining. But in the next moment, she realizes something that leaves her extremely embarrassed. And turning completely red, she screams, asking what he is saying. But suddenly, in that euphoria, she steps on something and loses her balance, and she begins to fall, surprised, calling for help. But quickly, the man rushes to her and catches her in his arms. As she remains there with him, she thinks, I'm being held. And then he asks if she's okay while looking at her. Right there next to him, she becomes even shyer and says she's fine, thinking, he's so hard. She realizes that even just touching his body directly, he is as hard as if he were wearing armor, and he also seems really warm. She thinks that even though she's only touching his cold exterior, she can feel his warmth and his sunny aura. Desperate, she questions what she is thinking and tells herself she can't let him notice that she has lost her composure. She tries to control herself by pinching her rosy cheeks. Meanwhile, our hero is startled, realizing that she has indeed lost her composure. Lucius tells the girl that now is not the time to waste time and apologizes to the most holy, while she only thinks about the fact that she is being hugged. Polly thinks that he is very rough, but she likes that kind of personality, and enchanted by the man, she thinks that she likes this. A little later that night, a massive explosion happens at the gate of the Demon King's castle, alarming the goblins on guard. The creature shouts that someone is escaping, and in the middle of the confusion, someone yells to sound the alarms, while other monsters call out for someone to stop them. Polly, noticing the chaos, tells him he can go and leave her behind. But the man tells her not to worry and asks if, by any chance, she's afraid of heights. A little nervous, she says, afraid of heights? And looking up, our hero tightens his grip on the girl. Lucius lifts her up firmly. Then he throws her high into the air with great force, just as he finds himself surrounded by his own army. The girl is sent flying out of the castle, screaming in shock. The goblins watch the scene, unable to believe what is happening, and catching them off guard, the man jumps and steps on one of the monster's faces. Using the powerful momentum, he launches himself into the air as well, leaving all the goblins stunned. With his hand on his stepped-on face, the goblin points and shouts, "Get him!" Our hero grabs a sword and prepares for battle. and suddenly an energy surges around him. In the next moment, he charges toward the goblins, striking them and sending them flying in all directions. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the Most Holy begins to fall. As she nears the ground, it seems that someone is approaching, and in the next moment she is once again in the arms of our hero. He then asks if she's okay, and Polly, still blushing, says that yes, she is fine. Thinking that he is really cool, the girl realizes that he got through the demon army in just an instant, and that he must be very powerful. Our hero points to a region and says that the exit is to the south. The girl explains that the demon army hasn't had time to organize its defenses yet, and that this is the best chance to escape. But the man says no and asks if the holy staff and relics weren't what she was looking for. Then he tells her that the staff is in the storage room just ahead, and since they have already come this far, how could they retreat now? Nearby, the staff thinks that it's really annoying for him to be kept there, and he wonders why the healthy elf hasn't interrogated him a little. But then, suddenly a huge crash sends stones flying in all directions, and Polly appears, telling the holy staff that she came to get him, while he asks if she wasn't captured. But right after, he notices that she is with a man. The girl explains that he is the Prince Charming who came to rescue her, and quickly corrects herself, saying he is a hero and that the demon army is outside pursuing them, while our hero thinks, Prince Charming, hero. The staff wonders how someone so powerful and reckless could exist in Razma's realm. Polly says she isn't sure right now, but there's no time for explanations and everything will be explained later, so the staff agrees. But suddenly, something catches our hero's attention, and the dark elf appears, smiling and snapping her fingers. A massive explosion occurs in the place, and our hero thinks that, thank God, he noticed her coming. Polly tells him to be careful because that woman is a fallen elf from hell, the most powerful servant of the Demon King. Free asks, the Emperor's strongest servant? Satisfied, she says that she actually quite likes that title. Meanwhile, Polly makes a sound that could easily be a feint or a click. Elle says that she is the Emperor's little dog. Our hero thinks that while it's great she can't see through his disguise, saying things like that is kind of embarrassing. That woman asks what those foolish mortals could possibly know. That a stray dog like her could never understand the joy of being a loyal hound of the Emperor, while the goblins cheer in the background. Frame really seems to like that idea. Meanwhile, the army shouts that being a servant of the Emperor is a great honor, and that many would love to be one but cannot. Our hero looks very surprised by the situation. Polly says that this is disgraceful and asks how she can say something like that, insisting that she can't listen to such nonsense anymore. Lucius thinks that the most useless person here actually seems to be speaking seriously. The girl asks who said she is homeless and explains that as the most holy of the church, she belongs to the Lord God. Our hero, still in shock, thinks, servant nowhere one, but he realizes that now is not the time to argue about that. They all thinks that, as expected of a mere mortal, she is only capable of glorifying herself with such empty things. She adds that they must have some skill to have made it this far on their own, but that she doesn't care who he is because if he is here, he shouldn't think he will escape. She says that anyone who dares to offend his majesty must have their body and soul annihilated, and the girl remarks that she is an excellent swordswoman. And with a swift attack, she yells, die. Our hero notices that she is not as fast as he expected and wonders if it's because of power suppression. But in the next moment he realizes that he completely forgot out the most holy. Looking to the side, he sees that she has been caught by the elf's attack and is now hanging upside down. Lucius wonders why, every time there are tentacles involved, she manages to make that face. While Polly remains hanging in a complicated position, our hero seems to be a little amused by it. The girl asks if the elf is also a mage, but he explains that this isn't magic, that this power is because she is a drone matri of sanctuary level, and since she is the character who gets closest to the protagonist, he knows her well. He thinks that drow elves are enemies of most elves in any plane, but unlike other elves, their society is filled with fear and cruelty. But the biggest difference lies in their faith. Drow worship Loth, the Spider Queen, and the matrons are her favorite ones. Polly says that unless someone is a demigod, it is nearly impossible to defeat a drow elf at her level and apologizes for putting him in danger. Our hero thinks that given Freem's personality, she wouldn't use all of her power here, so escaping shouldn't be too difficult. That he realizes that this is the key, that this will serve as a distraction. Suddenly, a part of that energy detaches from Polly, and it lunges toward our hero, as the girl warns him to be careful. But in the next moment he ends up bound and trapped by the energy tentacles. Laughing, Freem calls on fools and says that her web can even restrain the dragons of hell, while someone comments on how powerful she is. But suddenly, she notices something unexpected. A glow coming from above the bound hero, and a sword slashes through the air. In the next moment, Lucius is freed, wielding his weapon. The staff says that this is truly impossible. Half cut through a drone matron's web, our hero charges toward the girl, and in an instant he grabs Polly, hoisting her over his shoulder while saying, it's time to go. The elf shouts, asking who he is and declaring that she won't let him pass. The two charge at each other at high speed, but in an instant, Freem seems to notice something, and at that moment she wonders why. Why there is that terrifying pressure, and in the next moment our hero passes by the elf, looking at her, leaving the woman in shock and frozen in place. Freem wonders if she's even still alive. While the goblins ask if she's okay, the elf replies that she is and that she will send people to track them immediately and wants a wanted poster made. She thinks that this is the first time in this plane that she has felt such powerful pressure and questions whether she is still alive because he chose not to kill her. Freem curses him and wonders who he could be, and since the saint is just a symbol, sending someone like him shouldn't have been worth it. A creature calls out to her and says they should inform the emperor and let him take action to eliminate those two. But suddenly he gets stoned on the face, and pressing him against the ground, the woman keeps him there. Freem, irritated, asks if they want to cause even more trouble by bothering the Lord, and if they are trying to prove how pathetic they are. She thinks that he went straight to the saint's cell and also knew exactly where the staff was stored, even though the Lord decided that just yesterday. Suddenly, she realizes that there is a traitor among them, and he was able to intercept an order that was given just yesterday. She thinks that an infiltration of this magnitude is, without a doubt, her gravest negligence in her duty, and that she has no idea what kind of punishment His Majesty, the Emperor, might have in store for her. Far from the Demon King's castle in a forest, Polly says there are no more pursuers, and our hero says that they are safe now. All the girl adds that this is great. Thanking him, she asks how she should address him, and our hero says she can call him whatever she wants since names and codes don't matter. Enchanted, she thinks. However I want. Then she considers calling him Prince on a white horse. Blushing, she quickly says no. Stammering, she adds, I meant. She says he could be the Black Knight since he is dressed in all black, so she believes Black Knight would suit him well. Lucia says he really doesn't mind and wonders if she's suggesting Batman, but, excited, the girl says that sounds great. And in desperation, she wonders why she always loses her composure when she sees him and whether he might think she's crazy. As she punches a tree, our hero thinks she really is out of her mind. Polly asks, my black mate, what should we do next? And our hero says they need to find a place to rest and settle down since their pursuers won't be able to reach them. He thinks that if it weren't for the fact that spatial magic doesn't exist in this plane, he could have teleported her straight to the humans, but that would reveal him as a demon. Polly says that the nearest city is Shu. She questions whether it won't draw too much attention if humans like them enter there, and our hero says that's what he's considering as well. Suddenly, she gets an idea and says, let me pretend to be your slave, Lord Black Knight. She explains that there are demons dressed like him too, and that he could simply put this on her and take her in, to which he asks if she brought that from the dungeon. Embarrassed, he tells her that she doesn't need to go that far, and that this would be a serious desecration. Gripping the shackles tightly, she thinks that it wouldn't be desecration, not enough to blend in with the demons. This is truly necessary, and she could also wear even more shameful clothing. And blushing slightly, she adds that if necessary, she could even do that kind of thing in public. Our hero shouts at her to stop talking because if she keeps going, they won't make it past censorship. Lucius tells them to just stop thinking about those things and keep moving, but she asks if he doesn't really want to reconsider. Polly explains that this city was conquered right at the beginning of the demonic invasion. Massacres and much more may have happened in that city, and she fears that after all these years, that place has become a paradise for all the races of demons from hell. From the outside, at first it looks like a normal city, and the two move through it. They find a tavern where seemingly normal people are eating and drinking. Polly asks how this is possible, while our hero thinks that fortunately the news hasn't reached here and no one recognizes him either. The tavern keeper tells him to enjoy and brings food, saying it's fried chicken, bread, seafood, and roasted meat. Polly looks confused and asks why there is such an abundance of food and whether resources aren't scarce during a war. The woman says that judging by their attitude and must be from the front lines, and that ever since the Emperor conquered this place, their lives have improved. She asks why things got better and whether this wasn't once the feast of a noble viscount. Then the woman explains that when the city was ruled by nobles, they had to pay 40% in taxes, whether from agriculture or trade. Irritated, Polly asks how that could happen and how such a tax rate could be allowed. A man says she must be a noble who doesn't know the real world, adding that for those beasts, 40% was an act of great mercy. He explains that during the famine years, it went up to 60%, and they also had to work for free, and that his son even died in one of those forced labor jobs. The first thing the emperor did was strip the viscount of all power, and then he lowered the tax to 5%, and only then were their lives freed. Polly asks what happened to the viscount and his family, and the man responds that they were killed, obviously. She sits down thinking that she understood this, that they were killed by the cruel and indiscriminately murderous demons. But the man corrects her, saying no, while lifting his mug. Everyone looks at the girl, smiling while she seems confused, and he finishes by saying that they themselves hanged him on a post one morning, another day near a lake in the forest. Paula says that the demon army is truly terrifying and asks if what people want is to abandon the Order's alliance. Then she asks Lord Black Knight what he thinks, and he responds that the situation is more serious than he imagined. He thinks, what the hell? I removed the nobles to provoke the alliance, and they set a 5% tax to dismantle the army, and I ended up making people happy. He remembers miners and pictures him eating all the papers he was supposed to read, enjoying it like a delicacy, and he thinks that fortunately, he left internal affairs with Minos. There must be countless ways to create a mess with this in the future. Besides, his top priority at that moment is to quickly return the most holy. Out of nowhere, someone shouts, "Most holy, we finally found you." And with a quick movement of his weapon, our hero catches the man who says he is a good man, a member of the resistance against the demon army. Lucius asks about this resistance, and the man explains that they heard the most holy was saved by a man, and they had been waiting for them there. He says that many ungrateful people have become servants of the demon army, but the flame of justice will never be extinguished, and the resistance will prevail. Excited, Polly says that there are still resistance warriors in these lands. Excited, the man asks that they certainly don't have a place to stay, and he says that they have a secret base where the two of them can rest. Sometime later, already at the secret base, the man raises a glass and says, "Cheers." He asks if the saint doesn't drink, and she explains that they must avoid addictive substances, as this is the doctrine she believes in. The man continues to saying that it's a shame he forgot to introduce himself. He is Eugene, and his ancestor was a viscount to military achievements. Moreover, everyone there is a righteous member of the resistance army. Our hero expected to find resistance warriors, but instead, they are all nobles, and he wonders if he hadn't already ordered them to be eliminated. The man continues saying that they probably haven't heard of their achievements because the demon army is blocking their news. But everything changed after the demon army arrived, and that army is truly cruel. With a nudge from the noble, the bottle of liquor falls to the ground, reflecting the terrified expression of the maid at the situation. She bows deeply and apologizes, while the noble looks confused and says it's fine. And then, striking the girl's face, he shouts that something is wrong, calling her a bastard. She falls to the ground, suffering, while the man asks if she doesn't know that even if he sold her again, it wouldn't be enough to pay for a bottle like that. Grabbing her by the ear, he calls her a beast, and says that if it weren't for that old man buying her, did she really think she could be here, besides being as useless as her mother? Excessively enraged, he shouts that she is a filthy dog and prepares to hit her again. The battered girl just waited for the next attack, but it didn't come, so she opened her eyes. Polly was there beside the noble, holding his hand and telling him to stop, leaving him surprised. He explains that he was just teaching that heretic a lesson, and that the church has always taught that they are barbarians repudiated by God. The girl says that this is a critical moment of invasion, and regardless of race, it is time to put differences aside and unite, and the man says he understands. Kneeling beside the girl, Polly asks if she is okay. Surprised, the girl stammers a response that she is, and Polly continues, telling her not to be afraid because she is the most holy of the church. She asks if it hurts, but the girl responds that it doesn't hurt anymore. With shining eyes, Polly thinks, "Wonderful." And excitedly, she hugs the girl, who becomes a little shy. She says that she is so soft and cute, that this is part of the healing, and asks for her name. The girl replies that she is simply called Papa because she has no surname. Our hero is surprised and thinks about that name, Papa, and he remembers that she is the Kakur Papa, a member of the hero's party that will defeat the Demon King, so that is the future demigoddess, while the happy girl says that it tickles. In the final half of the Demon King's game, a group of heroes will appear to defeat the Demon King. The Kakur Papa has high critical damage, strong attacks, great mobility, armor penetration, and magical resistance. And that a boss with transformation phases is the biggest obstacle that usually stops countless players. Our hero wonders if she and the heroine could be the same person, but he thinks not, because in the game, Papa has white hair and different eyes, and this girl doesn't resemble the fierce one from the game at all. Maybe it's just the same name. Meanwhile, that resistance warrior watches with displeasure. He says that he can use his connections to send her straight to the border and asks her to stay a little longer and enjoy the hot springs. He adds that he is taking his leave now. Sometime later, already at the hot springs, someone seems to be enjoying a warm bath, but he thinks it's so frustrating because there is so little information he can remember. He recalls seeing Papa's biography when he played the game, but who actually reads the story carefully while playing a game. He thinks that hot springs scenes are actually quite frequent, and he wonders if that's why, just as Polly appears taking her bath, he asks if she doesn't think she went a little overboard, and Polly asks Lord Holy Staff if he also thinks she didn't handle the situation well. He says she misunderstood. He explains that he knows what she means, but has she thought about the fact that they won't be here forever? That while she is here, the Viscount won't do anything to the girl. What could happen once they leave? He questions whether in the end they helped her or only made things worse. The staff continues and tells her to forget about that because there's a more important issue at the moment. Why was he left outside all wrapped up? She explains that it's not convenient to carry him right now and asks if that isn't normal. He says that although he is the supreme symbol of the church's holiness, he still needs help to be cleansed, that he needs someone to wash him. Polly thinks that Lord Black Knight's strength must come from some noble origin, and maybe he also needs someone to help him. The staff asks if Lord Black Knight isn't just behind that divider. Polly sneaks to peek at the Black Knight and thinks that this is a great opportunity to see his true face. Blushing deeply, she thinks. No. She thinks that since the Black Mate is so strong, you will probably notice her immediately. Or maybe the Black Mag has been alone this whole time. It's more likely to be like what's written in books. Our hero says that he rescued her with great difficulty and that she should repay him in some way, and Polly wonders what she is thinking. Suddenly, Someone calls for the Most Holy. Papa arrives and says that the Viscount sent her to help with her bath, catching her by surprise. Embarrassed, she says that she isn't used to that and that she can bathe by herself. Concerned, the girl says that if she doesn't help, the Viscount will think she's neglecting her duties again. Polly rises from the water and says that she will leave it to her then. The girl approaches behind Polly, asking for permission. She starts scrubbing the Most Holy with a cloth, and the girl seems to really enjoy the care. Startled, Papa asks if she did something wrong, but Polly says no, that it's nothing. Polly thinks that she knows that she still hasn't gotten used to this. But the girl keeps washing the Most Holy properly. Papa is doing her job diligently. Polly asks how she became the Viscount's maid if she was separated from her tribe. The girl says that actually her homeland was destroyed. Surprised, the saint asks it was due to the demon army's invasion. But Papa says no, that it happened because of the human kingdom's army. She explains that she and her mother were sold to the Viscount's family, and she always tried to escape with her. And just 4 years ago, while they were trying to escape, they were discovered, and her mother told her that they should separate. But she was also caught. Polly asked about her mother. Anne, excited, the girl says that it seems her mother managed to escape. However, she's not sure because surely she would have come back for her, and Polly says certainly. The saint thinks that the girl is amazing and that she still has hope. She thinks that the church is against slavery but only among humans, and that her race is not considered human, and she questions if this is truly right. The staff says he needs to remind her that questioning the church is blasphemy and orders her to stop because it is not something that can be changed. Stretching, she says it feels so good and thanks the girl for it, saying she feels much better, and Papa replies that this is what she should do. And she asks Polly if she's really going out like that, if she's not going to get dressed, but Polly says it's fine because the knight is on the other side. The girl pauses and says, the other side, but he is, and she finishes by saying that there's only one hot spring here. Meanwhile, the saint is in shock as she sees him there, trying to say her name while stammering. Embarrassed, she apologizes and says she made a mistake. But in the next moment, she realizes that he appears to be asleep. She approaches and thinks, well, while Lord Blackmaid doesn't notice, she continues to move slowly toward him. And as she gets really close, she thinks that now is the perfect chance to take a look at the true face of Lord Black Knight. Trying to be as gentle as possible, she moves closer to the towel, and very slowly she starts lifting it, only to come face to face with his open eyes. She's completely shocked and embarrassed. Saying that was a mistake, she throws the towel back onto his face. She yells that it's not what it looks like. Startled, our hero wakes up, questioning what the hell is going on, if it's an enemy attack or maybe a demon invasion. She, flustered, says that she's leaving now, but it seems like she trips over Lucius's legs, and screaming desperately she falls, landing directly with those large, soft things on his face. Irritated, Noble thinks that the saint treated him that way because of a slave. If she likes wolf cubs so much he can give her one as a gift. He says that the message has already been delivered, and although this is the most important part of this plan, you must lose something to gain something. A long time passes. Polly begins to wake up, wondering where she is, and suddenly, someone appears behind her, grabbing her and saying that she finally woke up. The woman questions the Demon King, asking why he's there and where the knight is. The demon tells her that he ate him. To Polly's horror, she screams for her beloved. He continues, saying that now it's her turn, while the girl begs him to wait, that he can eat her. But what is he doing? Then our hero explains that to eat, he has to peel first. Suddenly, she wakes up in a panic and asks herself, why do I have to dream about these things? But she immediately realizes that she is not alone. Papa says that it looked like she was having a nightmare. She explains that she was sweating, so she wanted to change her clothes, but Polly asked why she was here. The girl says that the Viscount wants to give her to her and asked her to bring a contract herself. Polly tells her to forget about this whole slavery thing because her doctrine does not allow it, and besides, she doesn't need anyone to take care of her. But Papa explains that if she can't be her slave, the Viscount will treat her as negligent, and Polly says, okay. I get it now. She says that she will be in her care for the next few days, but she doesn't want her to bring that master-slave attitude to her. And very happy, the girl says that it will be a great honor to be the most holy slave. But seriously, Polly tells the girl that no one is born to be a slave, and she asks if this contract really transfers her from the Viscount to her, and the girl confirms it, so Polly says, that's good. She adds that slavery is terrible, but the worst thing is finding joy in slavery and showing it, so she declares that she is no longer a slave, and that she doesn't need to call her master while burning the contract. The girl asks, if I'm not a slave, what identity can I have by your side, most holy? Polly places her hand on her head. While smiling, she says that she will be her friend, and she tells her that if she wants to find her mother, it's not convenient to be a slave at her side. While Papa says, mother, friend, the girl says that meeting the most holy is an honor for her, and Polly says that they will be leaving soon and need to prepare supplies. She tells her to get ready as well, and that if she needs anything, she should let her know. Papa runs off, saying that the saint should go have breakfast and that the knight dressed in black should have arrived by now. Polly tells her to forget about that because Lord Black Knight and the others have probably been waiting for quite some time. But suddenly, something bothers her, and she thinks that she's remembering again. How could she have done what she did last night? How will she be able to face Lord Black Knight now? Sometime later, Papa runs across the grass, saying that now she can finally go outside and look for her mother. She says that she won't leave the saint behind. But suddenly she notices something, and she thinks it's the aura of the demon army, but it's completely different from the usual type in this city. She concludes that this must be a high-ranking demon. She wonders why it's here and whether the saint and the others have been discovered. The girl starts running. She thinks she needs to be quick and Warman was holy, and the others about this. Arriving at the house, she throws the door open, and she shouts that the demon army has discovered this place, that they must hurry. But in the next moment, she is left speechless. The Viscount looks at her with a malicious expression, while she observes the three at the table. Polly, struggling, tells Papa to run, and she is terrified by something. 1 hour ago, the sun shone through the window, and at the table, the three of them ate together. Polly thinks that she is too scared to talk to Lord Black Knight and that he seems to have noticed what happened last night. She realizes that he is also silent and might be worried. Meanwhile, our hero is thinking about what was written about Papa's life, paying no attention to anything around him. The Viscount asks if he didn't like the food, but Lucius says it's great, though the soup has a different smell, and he asks if there's something special in it. Smiling, the Viscount says that it's just secret spices and that every noble family has his own recipes. Our hero says, "I see, and I must taste this flavor." Excited, Polly thinks that's it. He hasn't eaten anything since yesterday, and that if he eats now, he will have to remove his mask. But with a slight flick of his hand, our hero spills the soup over himself without revealing his face, leaving Polly devastated and the Viscount impressed. Polly, devastated, thinks, this isn't fair. But in the next moment, she notices something strange, and placing her hand on her head, she asks what's happening, and the noble replies that this is exactly what he was talking about, that it's just a little bit of the secret spice. At that moment, the girl opens the door, warning that the demon army had discovered this place. But suddenly, she is in shock at what she sees. The Viscount looks at her with a sinister gaze, while Papa observes her friends at the table with some kind of problem. With difficulty, Polly tells her friend to run. Frightened, the girl rushes to Polly, asking what they did to the Most Holy, while Polly collapses onto the table. Papa says that he betrayed the Most Holy and called the demon army. The Viscount admits that it was him but asks what she means by betrayal, claiming he was simply following the trend and making the right choices. And suddenly, he attacks the girl, demanding to know who she is to question him, calling her a vile beast. The girl falls to the ground, injured, while Polly, heavily drugged, calls out her name. Then, struggling, the saint calls for Lord Black Knight. The Viscount says, "Dear saint, you can't still be expecting that black mage to save you, can you?" He tells her not to underestimate a noble's resources, as the potion she drank is an ancestral formula that only a demigod could resist. Smiling, he says that if she doesn't believe him, she just has to look at how he can't move. He adds that the Most Holy's fate is sealed. However, that she is so considerate to all of them and cares for the lambs who believe in God. He asks her why she doesn't sacrifice herself for everyone and says that he will offer her to the demon army as a way to secure a safe future. Suddenly, Papa appears beside the Viscount preparing an attack, and she strikes him by surprise, making the Viscount narrowly escape. He is shocked and questions if that was a surprise attack, while the girl says he won't dare, and she declares that she won't let him get near the Most Holy. Irritated, the man calls her an ungrateful wolf cub, saying that she ate his food all these years for nothing while stomping on her head. He says he knows the saint promised her a lot of things, like taking her with her and even finding her mother. Walking toward a dresser, he says that he will tell her something about her mother. Worried, Papa asks if her mother hadn't already escaped, and the Viscount asks if she really believes in that kind of thing. Throwing a suitcase at the girl, he orders her to open it, and pointing at it, he says that what's inside is. The girl quickly opens the suitcase and is left in shock at what she sees. The crow man says that it's her mother, while she remembers a moment she had with her. Papa screams desperately, hugging whatever is inside the suitcase. But in the next moment, something strange happens, and a massive surge of energy bursts from the girl. Two people run barefoot through the forest. The girl's mother tells her that they will be captured soon if they continue like this, so they must separate. That suitcase remains there on the ground. Crying, young Papa asks if she will really be able to escape, and her mother says yes, and that when she is safe, she must remember to find her. The girl cries as her mother approaches her. She tells her to return to the pastures where they lived or near the river where she loved to fish, and that she will wait for her there. Meanwhile, in the present, Papa opens that suitcase, stunned by what she sees. That young girl runs across the field, fleeing, while her mother thinks that she must not stop or look back. Back in the present, a Viscount laughs wickedly, when suddenly, a massive surge of energy bursts from the girl. Unlike some beast women who have the gift of transformation, some require an extremely strong emotional trigger. In that moment, that girl was awakening. The man says he didn't know he had another one like this, and the Viscount tells him to stop talking nonsense, saying he doesn't want any damage to the mansion. Another man tells him to wait a bit because she hasn't fully awakened yet, and the Viscount says to hold off until she completely turns into a wolf. But in the next moment, something unexpected happens. The girl, in a fit of rage, slashes at the man with her claws. The others present question how this is possible, saying that she is different from before. Papa now seems completely out of control, and the men are attacked without even having a chance to defend themselves. She continues striking one after another, swiftly eliminating them right in front of the Viscount. That cruel man seems unable to believe it and questions how she can kill even with a slave contract in effect. And in the next moment he realizes that crazy woman destroyed the contract. The energy flows powerfully through the girl. That Papa says, "I will." Fallen back into fury, she adds that she will kill him. Now scared, the Viscount says she can't and begs her to listen to him. Suddenly, she seems to sense something different. Then someone enters the room asking if she's a white werewolf. She says she remembers the legends that they can transform into werewolves and carry the blood of ancient gods, but she never knew was true. Furious, the girl tells the demon army not to dare approach the most holy. Freem says that continuing to fight under the pressure of her sanctuary-level aura, even having only partially awakened, is truly rare and powerful. As the girl flies toward her, attacking, she continues, saying, however, and with an energy shield, she blocks the girl's attack without even moving. And then, in the next moment, she strikes her. Papa to slam into the wall, while Freem calmly says that she should choose her opponents more wisely. Then she asks the Viscount if he was the one who sent the message to the demon army, and what his name is. He replies that he is Eugene and that he serves them. The elf asks if he used an excuse to keep the two there, and the Viscount confirms, saying he did so to await her arrival. He explains that they are never stingy and rewarding merit, and securing noble status again is not impossible. Excited, he thanks the lady and says that the saint and the knight drank a secret potion and now cannot move. Freem says, Black Knight. That name is the complete opposite of the Emperor. How dare he? Eager to please, the Viscount says he is indeed very bold and that he will help her tie them up. But suddenly, someone grabs the man by the face, and our hero says, all right. Rising from the table, he says that the show is over. Confused, the Viscount asks how he can be awake after drinking everything and Lucy's questions. How is this possible? He asks, look, she didn't even get close, did she? Freem says that if he escaped from her clutches, could he really be taken down so easily by a mere potion? That would be an enormous insult to her. Lucius asks how they can negotiate if she lets them go in exchange for releasing that man. The Viscount pleads, begging him to help. The elf asks, you want me to release a criminal who insulted his Imperial Highness in exchange for a worthless human? Preparing to attack, she questions if he really believes that is possible. The Viscount panics as our hero holds him by the head. A massive and powerful energy attack surges toward them and Lucius lowers the man's head to make him dodge it. He says that he really thought that was a stupid question, so now he should wait for what's coming next. With a strong push, he slams the traitor's head against the table, and he remembers when this guy slammed him into the table earlier. Somewhere, someone was using a mouse. A catastrophic event occurred in a port city. A massive white wolf destroyed half the city and then disappeared. This event was the introduction of the white wolf Papa, and this is the place where she awakened as a white wolf. He thinks that because he appeared alongside Polly, the event happened earlier. If it weren't for them, Papa would still be living in ignorance, accepting her ordinary life, then later facing the crisis of her lineage, learning about her mother's tragic fate, fully awakening her bloodline and becoming a white wolf, destroying half the port and accidentally joining the group of heroes and growing into his mortal enemy. Freem begins using the secret arts of the Dro called web restraints. Our hero stays alert to this, when suddenly, a massive web of energy appears above him. He thinks that now everything is different because of the saint's concern. Papa won't fully awaken or lose her rationality, and maybe there is a way to change fate. While he dodges the elf's attack, Freem unleashes multiple attacks against our hero who skillfully evades them all. He thinks that heaven is helping him, but suddenly, something feels wrong. Our hero realizes that he is surrounded by thin strands of webbing. Very excited, Freem says that these are real spider webs. While Lucius is caught in them, she explains that they are not easy to see. And using her power, she says, sanctuary revealed. In an instant, our hero is launched into the air. He thinks he didn't expect her to use this. It's a frustrating combo chain made of unique control abilities. This is practically guaranteed death for enemies in the game. The elf apologizes for underestimating him before of saying that he is dangerous and that such a threat must be completely eliminated. That he is a worthy opponent for all of her strength. A colossal demonic spider appears before them. Immediately, it launches an attack on our hero. A cloud of dust and debris rises from where the impact landed. Frank shouts that it's impossible. Lucius recalls that this move requires an immense buildup of rage to be used. And holding the spider's claw with just one hand, he says that it looks like she is truly furious. Squeezing tightly, the claw begins to crack as he says, I'm sorry, Freem. Tearing off that piece of the spider, he says that he will find a way to make it up to her when they return. Then he launches a powerful energy blast at the creature in front of him. The magical energy hits the spider dead on, and with a single blow, he shatters the giant spider. Frank is terrified, thinking how something like that could be possible with just one punch. How could there be an adventurer of this level in this room? She realizes that she can't move a single step. How could this be real? And she wonders if she's afraid. But recovering the next moment, she thinks no. She is being suppressed within her own domain. Nearby, Polly remains unconscious, leaning against the table. Thale says that this isn't a battle. It's like a child waving a wooden sword. and being defeated by a master swordsman. She wonders what could be more humiliating than this. The Viscount, lying battered on the ground, asks what is happening, and our hero finishes the job he started. Then he picks up the Most Holy and places her on his shoulder, saying that they must go. With effort, she says that they're missing Papa, and our hero says he understands. Then he goes to the girl and lifts her by her clothes. A little while later, the window pane begins to crack, and our hero crashes through it, leaping far away with both unconscious girls in his arms. It lands safely on the grass outside. As the girl begins to wake up, still furious, she screams that she will kill them all. Lucius thinks that the Viscount is still alive and that filthy place still exists. This has already become an obsession for Papa. If the Gum destroy that place, Papa will continue seeking revenge. She will return, destroy the port, and become a demigoddess. So the end of this game is just beginning, and this is just a gamble, but he will help her complete her revenge. Dark energies and magical chains are everywhere. Inside that place, the Viscount asks what is happening, and suddenly, something strikes him. A powerful red energy hits him from behind, making him scream. That attack seemingly puts an end to the man. Frim shields herself with her arm as she watches the situation, and a massive explosion strikes the place. Asas says that this is a terrifying magic, unprecedented in this realm of Raza, and not even the legendary powers of the past wielded such force. Our hero observes the scene while the staff stays close, wondering who he is and why his power carries an aura that it despises so much. Entire areas seemed utterly destroyed. While Freem stood watching, questioning why, the whole place is completely devastated, and in the middle of it, the elf remains in shock, until she finally asks herself why the man let her go again. Somewhere else, under a beautiful moon, our hero is having a snack by a campfire. It thinks that now things might be better for Papa. She won't trigger the wolf incident anymore. She won't encounter the heroes, and she won't become a demigoddess. But he also wonders if they're overthinking it, and if in reality, it would be safer to eliminate her once and for all. Our hero approaches the defenseless girl. Then he notices that she is smiling and saying, "Thank you." He stays there, watching her for a few seconds. But maybe he's just complicating things too much. He thinks that the saint will gain recognition for bringing the staff back, and the situation might stabilize just as it did with Papa, and that keeping her close to the Most Holy might seem like the best choice. Polly wakes up calling for the Black Knight while he asks if the girl is awake. He tells her that they are safe now and that no pursuers will be sent after them, and that by the morning after the next day they will reach Alliance territory. Additionally, that child is very injured and he can only provide basic care here, and without divine healing, she will hardly wake up. Polly approaches and touches the girl, saying, "Papa." She thinks that she can only use a little divine power now, and it won't be enough to heal her wounds, so it looks like she will have to use that. Polly asks the knight if he could step outside for a moment, maybe take a walk for a bit. Lucius replies that even though they're safe now, there are still many uncertainties around and Papa might still be unstable, which could be dangerous. The girl says there's no problem, and she thinks that if it's the Black Knight, there really is no problem. Grabbing her clothes, she thinks. Then, she begins to undress. She slowly starts removing her clothing, while our hero looks utterly shocked by the situation. Lucius asks why she's taking off her clothes, and Polly explains that her power is insufficient right now, and only through intimate contact can she fully heal Papa. She clarifies that it's just an emergency, and since Papa is also a girl, there's no issue with it. But our hero says he didn't ask for details. Concerned, she asks if Lord Black Knight is okay since he is bleeding, but he says it's fine, and that he's going for a walk. Polly thinks that even though he turned away, she still feels shy, but she moves closer to the girl, opening her clothes, and embraces her, using all of her divine power. She stays there with her, focused on healing, thinking that the most important thing right now is to save Papa. They remain there, embracing for a few moments. As the girl, crying, says, "Mother." Polly asks the knight if he knows how the church treats beastmen, and our hero says he has heard a little about it. She explains that in her doctrine, this race is abandoned by all divine truth, believing only in evil, and they are expelled from all lands. But do they really deserve to be treated this way? And what about the children born as slaves just because their ancestors were slaves? Is that truly right? The staff responds sternly that this is stated in the doctrine, and that she cannot question it. Sometime later, she finishes healing the girl. Continuing, the staff says that they should stop arguing about this. Our hero says he doesn't know much about it, but he has always believed that all people were created equally. And Polly asks, all are created equal, but what kind of equality? He explains that if they acknowledge that everything in the world was created according to the true will of God, then everyone would be equal in his eyes. Polly asks, kings and popes would be equal to slaves. I can't comprehend that. He asks, if they aren't equal, then how could the true God be just, most holy? The sky nourishes both the tree and the grass, and maybe for them it is their God. But does the sky distinguish between trees and grass? He continues, saying that if rain is truly God's gift to this world, then rain is just. The staff says that this is blasphemy, that these are the words of a demon from hell, and that not even demons would dare to speak such things. Polly seems to have understood something, and approaching the man, she says, Lord Black Knight. She questions him about what he means. She explains that although she feels a depth in his words, she still has some doubts. Our hero says that instead of having doubts right now, she should go put some clothes on first. Realizing the situation, she turns completely red. She suddenly grabs the man's head and hurls him far away with a single throw. As he bounces across the grass, she apologizes. Desperate, she asks herself what she just did. Worried, she asks Lord Black Mage if he's okay, and the man replies that she should just let him lie there for a while. Our hero explains that if they hurry, they can reach the Alliance territory the next day. He tells her that this is a secret piece of military intelligence from the demon army, and he will give it to her first. While she wonders, military intelligence? That the demon army has stationed most of its troops there, and avoiding those locations might turn the tide of the war. Polly asks if those places aren't kind of useless. Why would the demon army heavily defend that region? Proudly, he thinks that's exactly it, that he arranged all of this, and he keeps wondering why he is giving her such important information. Could it be because the Lord Black Knight will not accompany her to the holy sanctuary? Lucius curses the situation and wonders if he should go to the holy sanctuary and surrender himself. Then he says that he will go only where he must, and that there is no need to track his path as he is hidden in among the crowd, and that maybe one day they will meet again, or maybe not. The night passes, and during the day the group continues on their journey. They travel, enjoying their time together. Then, at one moment, our hero calls out to the Most Holy and tells her that they have reached the end of their journey. The two girls walk forward and approach the city gates. A soldier orders them to stop and asks who they are. Then Polly explains that there is no problem. She is Polly in the sink of the church, and this is her friend Papa. And smiling, she says that over there is Lord Black Mai. But then she realizes he is already gone. The soldier asks how it's possible that she is the Most Holy, and another soldier whispers that it could be. But the man orders him to stop talking and says that while they wait here, the other soldier will go report it. Smiling, Polly tells the girl not to be afraid because this is the Alliance's base and they are safe now. The soldier apologizes for not believing them right away and explains that this is the war front and behind them are their homes, but Polly says she understands. Grabbing the staff, she says that if this can help prove her identity, this is the sacred relic she recovered from the demon castle. This is the sacred staff of Eugene. The soldier asks if she really expects him to believe that this is the sacred staff, while Polly admits that it does seem a bit hard to prove. And suddenly, something surprises the soldier, as Polly casts the spell in her hand, saying that then he should recognize this sacred magic. Amazed, the soldier says that this is truly divine magic from the church, and that it seems she really is the Most Holy, he says with a determined look. The gates behind them open and several people appear, asking where Polly is. Excited, she recognizes Professor Lockle, and says that she never thought he would be there, that it has been a long time, and that he was her history professor. As she explains that it has been a long time since he was her teacher, the man suddenly casts a divine spell of great suppression. That magical energy flies toward the girl, who asks what he is doing. The staff asks if that is a spell meant to seal all divine power, and as he is being deactivated, he thinks that this might be the case. Lawful shouts that she is the criminal Polly, betraying the Alliance and serving the demons, in addition to committing countless heretical acts, causing the fall of the fortress. She says that this must be a mistake. How could she serve the demon army? And that the sacred staff can prove her innocence. The man declares that by this order, she is under arrest by direct decree of the Holy Inquisition of the Church. Curious, the girl charges at the man, ordering him to let the saint go, while Polly tries to stop her. The girl shouts for them not to hurt Papa as the man firmly grips her by the neck. He continues, saying that on top of everything, she's conspiring with a beast woman. That man orders them to take care of the two criminals, and some time passes after that incident. Polly is locked in a cell, and she thinks that after finally escaping the Demon King's army, how could she meet such an end? Someone appears and asks if she is still trying to explain herself. He tells her that she was declared a traitor a month ago, and that the one who truly recovered the staff was Dorith. Irritated, the soldier says that because of her betrayal, his family fell into the hands of the demons, including his sister, who is only 11 years old. Polly tries to say that she didn't betray the Alliance and questions how Dorith could be a saint. She was just a reserve saint. Someone appears and asks if Sister Polly is surprised, saying that she was really happy to see her again, but that this meeting is truly ironic. The soldier asks why Saint Dorith is there in person, and the woman says that she needs to speak with the criminal and asks for the prison key. For a moment, he hands her the key and warns her be careful because the beast woman is very aggressive, to which Dorith, smiling, thanks him. Then the soldier says that he will stand guard outside and that she can call them if anything happens. The woman just observes for a few seconds, and she uses a magic that shines yellow. In the next moment, she unlocks the cell, and stepping inside, she explains that it's a very convenient magic that prevents them from being heard, making it the perfect moment to discuss secrets. Dorith asks if she doesn't have a lot of questions to ask too, and Polly says that it seems like this woman has a lot to say to her. Getting very close, the substitute saint looks at her now and asks if she is the same Polly who followed her back then. Dorith says, with all this money spent to block divine magic, you're not much different from an ordinary mortal, are you? Using magic, she removes all of the Most Holy's clothes. Satisfied, she looks and says, yes, good. And now she looks much more like a prisoner, asking if Sister Polly doesn't agree. Getting close again, she says that now she will answer all her questions. As the third princess of the Pampria Empire, this kind of fantasy seems non-existent. Her mother, who she never knew, was supposedly a servant in the castle, and she was born from a drunken mistake of the emperor. Since birth, she was branded as a disgrace and a bastard child, and the only future she could have was to be forced into the church to serve God as a nun. But she never gave up. She climbed step by step until she entered the holy city. And then she was chosen as the reserve saint, having chance to become the next saint. But in the end, the church knew who she was. How could they allow a member of a world family to rise in the church? The church could become a tool, so she was deceived by fate once again, and she was defeated by it because of her birth. A massive explosion occurred as Doroth watched. It was the demon army invading. The waters churned, and the rules of the old system collapsed. To survive, the church, the human nation, and other races united. And at that moment, she, the abandoned pawn of the royal family, suddenly found her role becoming very important. The princess of the empire became the most holy church, and the pope gained support from secular forces in those times of crisis. And the empire nailed her as a stake into the church, a church they had been unable to infiltrate for hundreds of years. The world needed a saint, and the saint fulfilled the mission of infiltration. Recovering the artifact would make her the princess of all. Sending a saint to the demon king's castle to recover a staffton seemed like a normal plan despite everything, and she expected Sister Polly to fall into this trap without suspecting anything. She explains that the truth is that Polly was abandoned by everyone from the very beginning. Furious, Papa shouts for the woman not to dare touch the most holy. The tension rises between the three in the prison. Dorothy looks at the girl and calls her a filthy beast woman. She says that she can't even recognize who the real Sink is now, and it's a joke. Leaving, the woman says that they're done for today, and that when she is being burned at the stake, she will be there to mourn for her. Polly asks her to wait a minute. Then Dorothy asks what she still wants, if she's going to beg for mercy. But she tells her that it's the leaders of the church's alliance forces who want her dead, not her. Then, extending her hands, Polly says she has just one request. She explains that she obtained an important piece of intelligence from the demon army, and that if used now, it could change the course of the war. Dorothy, not understanding, asks if she isn't afraid that even though they are coming to kill her, she still shares this kind of information to help them. Polly says that whether they kill her or not will only affect her, but if the demon army can be stopped, its effects will cease throughout the entire realm of Razma. Looking down from his palace, our hero says that he is the king, and that he is filing back, and the saint should no longer be in any danger now, especially with the information he gave her. She will be canonized on Earth for the exceptional contribution she made, and he has returned to his homeland, making it a double victory. Letting go of his cup of wine, he thinks, however, it is still too soon to celebrate that he suffered a major defeat while undercover and the castle must be in terrible condition. He is out of his chamber, and right at the door the elf is bowing, congratulating his majesty on ending his seclusion. Somewhat surprised, our hero asks what Freem was doing there. Exalted, she says that she wishes for death, but she failed to keep prisoner Polly in custody and allowed her to be rescued. So she had planned to tie herself up and wait there for her punishment, but apparently it's quite difficult to tie oneself up. Our hero approaches and tells her that it's not her fault. He says that an enemy she could not stop is not just an ordinary person, and that he underestimated this plan. He did not expect someone so powerful to be there. As they are talking, someone else approaches. It's Ashen, who says that it is great that His Majesty has finally ended his seclusion. Lucius asks what she needs, and if it's materials, she can take whatever she wants from the stockpiles, but the girl says she is there to bring news. She says that the new weapon that could change the war is being developed, and she wants him to inspect it personally. At the experimental testing grounds of the demon army, he thinks that he can't believe this was actually developed. Our hero asks where Chief Engineer Priscilla is. Surely she be here. Freem says that she is right beside him, and the Lord wonders where, as all he sees is a barrel of wine. Suddenly, the lid opens, and Priscilla asks if the demon king doesn't want a drink. Lucius says there's another barrel of wine inside. Somewhat intoxicated, the princess asks if he is worried about the weapon and tells him that he will see soon enough. It is a little excited and thinks, but seeing you like this, he thinks that she is completely confident. Shortly after, the elf tells His Majesty that Ashen is here, and with a weapon in hand and wearing protective goggles, she orders them to begin, while our hero is surprised to see that she is holding a firearm. He thinks that firearms are truly a fiction in this world, and that really is just that. This is a world where magic exists, and even a low-tier stone magic spell can have the same effect as a modern weapon. Furthermore, experienced adventurers can easily cut bullets with their swords, and can even wield them faster than a bullet moves. Not to mention that the Allied forces wear steel armor, which these so-called firearms wouldn't simply be able to penetrate. He wonders if this is the result of all her hard work, that she recreated it exactly based on the blueprints. However, even though she made this piece of junk, he will evaluate it as a divine artifact. Ashen prepares to fire that device, and as she pulls the trigger, a massive explosion erupts in front of her, leaving everyone around completely astonished. Excited, the girl says that under the chief engineer's guidance and with some of her own adjustments, they created the super weapon that will end the war. Shocked, the princess mentally questions the girl, who insists she only made a few small adjustments to the weapon. Meanwhile, our hero, terrified, wonders if she is actually calling that a firearm. He approaches the girl and says that this was very good, and asks if this is it, leaving her a little confused. Ashen says that with Pacifist, she wants to improve the weapon, since this one only fires 7 times and the war quickly. Lucius is stunned by this. She continues explaining that because of this, she developed another one. And 2 goblins arrive, carrying a massive weapon. As our hero, horrified, thinks that this is progressing way too fast. Ashen says that without the chief engineer's ideas and her inspiration, none of this would have been possible. So everything is thanks to Chief Priscilla. Lucius, panicking, thinks, not me, don't say such nonsense. They all say that she doesn't know why His Majesty entrusted such an important task to the 2 of them, but the fact they succeeded proves that his foresight is unparalleled. Freem says that she didn't report anything because she wanted to be a surprise for His Majesty. Lucius says that he thinks something like this cannot be mass-produced. But she continues saying that 100 have already been produced and sent to the battlefield, to the terror of our hero, and that, according to the Lord's defense instructions, all of them were sent to the 2 locations he organized. Feeling a little calmer, he thinks that those are the 2 unimportant places he arranged, and then he gave all the information to the saint. He now believes that absolutely nothing can go wrong. That was when he was arriving at the Alliance City and handed that paper containing data about their military intelligence to the girl. And later, when the saint said she only had one request, explaining that she had information that could change the tides of war, and Dorothy asked why she wanted to help if they were going to kill her. Sometime later, at one of our hero's strategic locations, in that forest there are some signs of combat. Some birds fly over an area devastated by a weapon, and the scene shows that there was a true massacre of the human army. In the afternoon in the Alliance City, Dorothy asks how she knew that the human army was in that specific place. Worried, Polly asks what happened. She explains that the general, along with 100,000 men, dwarves, and elves, fell into an ambush and were annihilated, if only a few escaping through the trees. A saint is in shock upon hearing that it was 100,000. Exalted, she says that she gave her the military intelligence data and asks why she continued opting for that route, saying that this is over. Duraf says that she properly delivered it, but the human army received support from the other races, and that was the best route besides the fact that they did not believe in Polly. In the end, a marshal died in battle, and the elven princess is missing. She thinks this was not her fault. She continues saying that this was not her fault, but knows that someone will have to take responsibility for all of this. Dorothy undoes her magic. As someone approaches, she says that she cannot imagine how Polly could do something so vile. And the guards watch as she asks what they turned her into inside the demon army's castle. She questions why she gave them false information and says that Professor Locke thought she still had some conscience. Dora says she believed in her. She continues saying that she believed when Polly said there would be no demons there, but there were thousands. The marshal was brave, but after days, they perished. She says that they all died at Polly's hands and concludes that for all her crimes, many murders, treason, and crimes against humanity, Dora says, the Inquisition and the Alliance forces sentence you to death, and the execution will take place in 3 days. Elsewhere, someone asks for wine, and sitting on a barrel, Princess Priscilla asks for more drinks. Our hero says that he knows her good intentions and the contribution she has made, but insists that she must continue taking care of herself. She tells him to stop rubbing salt in her wounds, that he has already won this game, and that she has accepted serving in exchange for being able to drink as much as she wants. Exalted, she says she could let the world burn, and she wouldn't care. Our hero thinks that she cannot rebel and that she should use that brain of hers to create some devious schemes. But he says that he knows she worked hard and that she can now step down from the weapons department, and that he will leave the position of chief engineer to Ashina, surprising the girl. He says that he grants her the Sea of Granville as her territory and that she can now go rest there. With a map, our hero points to where the city would be. Shock, the girl asks if he is really giving her a territory on the border and thinks that it would be easy to escape from there, wondering if the Lord thinks she wouldn't do it. But the Lord confirms it and thinks that it's better if she runs. After all, if the 2 of them stay there a few more days, they will probably build a war tank. The Dark Elf calls for Her Highness. She says that, as expected, the Alliance sent 100,000 soldiers to that area, and they were ambushed by the demon army, and that the machine guns they developed played a crucial role in that battle, eliminating more than half of the army in an instant. Very excited, the Dark Elf celebrates. Something happens to Princess Priscilla. She doesn't seem to be feeling very well, and she keeps getting worse and worse. As the princess slides off the barrel, the elf says she simply is. Our hero says that she is just very happy, and a worried elf calls for His Majesty. But he explains that she doesn't need to worry because those are tears of happiness. He questions why the allies did this after he provided the strategy through the saint. Even more excited, the elf says she has even more good news, and our hero, nearly having a heart attack, asks more. The Alliance has considered the holy human a traitor and will execute her publicly at the stake. Our hero and the princess are absolutely shocked by the information while Freeing calls for His Majesty, who shows no reaction. He says that he has had visions and will remain secluded for a few days, and that the army's decisions will be left to her and the Minotaur while he thinks about how he will save the saint. As the soldiers bring the saint, someone asks if that is Polly and why she betrayed humanity. Someone throws a stone at her and shouts that she is an evil woman, and a man shouts that his brother died on the battlefield because of her. Dora thinks that no one knows about Sister Polly, that people are ignorant, and that now they will only remember Doroth as the saint, and that she will be forever thrown into the trash bin of history. A man asks if that is Doroth, the one who infiltrated the demon castle and made fools of them, saying he heard she brought back the sticker artifact. Our hero questions if everything they said was not done by Polly, and where this Doroth came from. He thinks he was lucky to find some information there while pulling out a book, but that something is off. He had bought it from a man who claimed to have an illustrated book explaining why Polly served the demon lord and sent more than 100,000 soldiers to their deaths. He wonders if there will actually be any useful information in something sold with that kind of pitch. Polly appears tied up on the ground, screaming for him to let her go, asking if he thinks she will submit to his immense power. Very flushed, she says this will kill her, that she will never be able to return to who she was, and apologizes to her faith. She pleads for him to give it to her and says that in exchange she will give anything. Throwing that book on the ground, he asks why this world sells this kind of special resource. Calming down, he thinks for a moment and realizes that actually that art there is not all that bad. A bit excited, he picks it up again to take another look, thinking that it really isn't bad at all. He closes that book with determination. He finally understands that they believe Polly was manipulated by him to deliberately provide false information about the army. And he wonders how she could have given false information, questioning if there is some kind of conspiracy involved. The professor begins to speak. Prisoner Polly, according to multiple testimonies and evidence. He says that she was captured after the defeat, deserted to the demon army, and committed military treason, leaking military intelligence multiple times as well as capturing and torturing many soldiers. She competed for the position of saint and committed multiple murders of church clergy. Additionally, she researched necromancy, curse magic, and other heretical spells while she was a saint. The bored nobleman says this is just a formality and asks why it's taking so long, while another orders them to burn her already. The man adds that the prisoner confessed to all her crimes and that she is now sentenced to be executed at the stake. Polly questions the confession. She screams, asking if they are referring to the forced hand marks on her wrists. She says she does not recognize these accusations and will never repent for an unjust charge, stating that she never betrayed her faith and never will. Using magic, the professor commands her to be silent, restraining her with a series of magical chains. Then he continues and says, Polly, for the sake of the world's justice, you must die here, and throws a burning piece of wood in her direction. At the next moment, a massive lightning bolt crosses the sky, frightening all the villagers. The professor questions why it suddenly started to rain, and people ask if perhaps God does not want her to be burned. But the man insists and begins to use divine art, and he casts magical fire at the girl. Then Polly starts to be engulfed in flames. Our hero thinks this is a farce, that a simple investigation would reveal many holes in it, but no one cares while people are being manipulated. Besides that, the demon army is already at their doorstep, and they are still concerned with internal conflicts. Lucius thinks this is his cue, and that he will get the thing out of there and train amid this chaos. In the middle of all that confusion, our hero advances toward her. Suddenly, something catches his attention, and a sacred light appears, making him realize that it is an omen of deification. A sacred light fills the skies. The professor asks how such an amount of divine power is possible. From the pyre, Polly calls for Bishop Lockle. Immediately, he kneels before her. Stammering, he says that he is there. She asks if he thinks this reign is right and just. Still stammering, the man responds that yes, it is right and just, for it does not discriminate and falls on both the rich and the poor. Polly says that this is not true. Rain is just, it falls on the poor and the rich, but it is not just because it falls on the rich and the poor. It is just because this world it falls upon is not just at all. A massive divine energy mixed with fire emerges on the platform. A beam of divine energy descends from the sky onto Polly, and she appears, overflowing with that energy, wearing divine armor. Flying with her 6 angelic wings, she says, I will judge this. And she declares that this world. Terrified by the situation, the nobles ask what this is, and the professor says that she is a fallen angel. Polly calls for Bishop Lockle. Pointing her divine sword at the man, she says, You. Meanwhile, the man falls into despair. Then she declares that he is guilty, utterly destroying him. Immediately after, she points her weapon at the table where all the nobles sit and says, All of you. They scream for Polly to wait, saying there must be some mistake, that she doesn't need to worry, for her name will be cleared and she will remain the saint. Without showing any reaction, Polly simply declares that they are guilty and annihilates them mercilessly. And she continues saying, You two, all of you are guilty. She declares that whether they belong to the demon army or the alliance army controlled by the unjust, all will be subject to judgment. She calls for every unjust person still standing to run far away and spread the word of her judgment so that all may hear. She tells them to tremble for their sins and flee in fear of her. And she adds that those who are merely deceived by falsehood. A wounded soldier looks at his injuries, as she says that those who believe in justice and righteousness may remain here. Pointing her weapon toward the sky, she declares that she will establish paradise on earth. From the church balcony, Dora says that everyone has gone mad. She shouts that she will not run and that she does not fear her, for she is the saint, the one who should have become an angel. It should have been her. Suddenly, a soldier strikes her from behind. Lifting her into his arms, he apologizes to Lady Dorith. Our hero questions why she became a goddess. She did not suffer fatal injuries, yet she still spontaneously became a six-wing angel. He assesses the situation, thinking that she is a dark angel, something that does not appear in the normal game, and furthermore, she wants to fight against the Alliance as well, which is great, and that it seems this will not be a bad ending. A third force has emerged from nowhere, one capable of fighting against the demon army. But he calls for the saint and wonders if the abyssal aura he possesses can be hidden from her. Polly notices that the Dark Might Lord is also there and thanks him. Our hero says that she does not need to thank him for this time he was not the one who saved her. But she says that she is not talking about that. She says that now she understands what he meant, that everything in the world was created by the will of God. So all men are equal, and thus, all had the same rights. She states that all men were created equal, and that this makes perfect sense, that this is the supreme truth of this world. Our hero is surprised by all of this. Exalted, she declares that, guided by his words, she will create paradise on earth, where all will be equal, with no distinction between the poor and the noble, regardless of whether they are humans, beastmen, dwarves, or anything else. All will live together equally, and she tells the knight that they will build it together, that they will overthrow both the allied and demon forces, and beyond that, he will be the father and creator of this paradise on earth. Our hero wonders if she cannot see his abyssal aura and thinks that her current state must be an unlocked state from the game. But he questions the black wings. Polly asks if that is not possible. She apologizes if she was rude, for he must have his own concerns and may not be able to agree to her selfish request. But in the next moment he takes her hand and says no. Bowing, he asks for permission to join her in completely expelling the demon army from these lands, declaring that he will fulfill this duty. He explains that he cannot stay there because he has an information network with the demon army that could provide her with intelligence. He asks her to believe that he can exert more power from another location, and Polly says that she believes him and that his intelligence is more reliable than an army of thousands. She says that if the allies had followed what he had given them and had not been caught up in internal conflicts, the deaths in the last battle would not have happened. She concludes that it is precisely because of this that all these things need to change. Sometime later at the sacred sanctuary, someone says that this is the most important room they need to inspect. Opening the double doors, the two men observe the inside. He explains that each candle represents the life of a high-ranking church member, and for example, the one in the middle represents the supreme pontiff of the church. The young man asks what happens if it goes out, and he explains that the candles there cannot be extinguished unless the soul ascends to heaven. As the young man observes an extinguished candle, he explains that it would be represented with the flame of the soul going out, and at that moment, a multitude of flames extinguish. The man shouts for the Holy Father, saying that several flames of important members have gone out, while the guard stops the man, calling him a fool. That man kneels in a place filled with sacred energy, saying, Holy Father, and he asks if this is the trial that he has set for them. Far from there, at the Demon King's castle, Fram watches from a balcony, thinking that it is a grand display of magic, that it is the aura of a demigod, and wonders if another demon emperor has come to this plane and why there was no prior warning. Determined, she says no, and turning around, she says she needs to send someone to investigate what is happening and inform the emperor. Elsewhere in the Dwarf Kingdom, a man says that the cannons used by the demons were produced by the noble clan and questions whether the princess betrayed them. But the other man says that it is slander. Someone strikes the base of a weapon against the ground, making a loud noise. King Hayam commands the two fools to stop arguing, stating that in such a situation he will order an investigation and the truth will be revealed. Bowing in respect, the two men say, As you command. But suddenly, something seems to happen there, and the ceiling directly above the king begins to crack. He thinks that is a very powerful dark aura and asks if the ancestors have abandoned them. Meanwhile, in the city of Raglan, someone asks if the demon lord has really taken that place. A young man asks his father how he knows this, and he explains that he does not know, only that he has heard that she is an important figure and participated in the war. Frightened, a boy questions the document that says she is a person worth 10,000 troops and asks if she could be a man-eating demon. Suddenly, someone shouts that the lord has arrived, and another voice says, well, my dear subjects. Waving, she says that it is a pleasure to meet them, that her name is Priscilla, and that she is the new lord of Granville. The young man looks somewhat confused at the girl. People ask who that child is, and another warns to be careful because she might eat him first before anyone else. The older man asks if she is Princess Priscilla, and laughing the girl says that it has been a long time since she heard that, but that was her past identity. And she adds that they should remember that her current identity is Chief Engineer of the Demon Army, also His Majesty's Chief Brewer, a great contributor to the last battle, and Lord of Granville. The two men exchange confused looks. Meanwhile, elsewhere someone shouts, "What?" Priscilla says that the former noble collected taxes 90 years in advance and that there is no more oil to squeeze. The man confirms that this is precisely the situation, so she says that she is not there to make money and that she will exempt everyone from taxes for the next 3 years. And the man asks if this is true. She says that this place is rich in minerals and that she will personally help in the mines and improve the smelting process. She explains that they will work 4 days and rest 3, and in addition, they will receive payment from the jewels she brought and even have rewards. Out of nowhere, the two men fall to their knees in front of her, and bowing they explain that this is divine and that she is a true angel, an actual angel. The young man asks if they should talk about the remnants of the last battle, but the elder says that such kindness cannot be repaid and that this will be great for her. Curious, Priscilla questions what this place of the last battle is. Sometime later, in another location, a woman seems to be panting and struggling to sneak through the forest. In the forest, a woman leans against a tree to rest. She questions what happened, what they are fighting against, and whether that firepower is the main force of the demon army. Then she stands up, thinking that she needs to get out of there and that there is a nearby human city. They must have sensed her presence, and she might find shelter there. She continues advancing through the forest, wondering how the demon army managed to find that place first. Suddenly, Priscilla appears nearby, armed, and the elf is startled as the new lord strikes the tree where she had been crouching, hiding. With a huge crash, a tree falls, and the elf has nowhere left to hide. She asks who she is and how she managed to cut down a tree so easily. If she is some general of the demon army, Priscilla says, "Oh, who is this? A person with the pointy ears? I remember seeing you before." Excited, she asks if she is Queen Helveman of the pointy ears, and the woman asks why the princess is there. Then Priscilla asks if she is an idiot. She explains that of course, it is because she became the Lord of Granville, appointed by His Majesty the Demon King, and that she is an enemy disturbing the peace. Then the elf says that she understands and that Priscilla has betrayed the alliance, and she adds, "Although I don't know why, don't you think you're being a little too confident?" While using her magic, the elf says that both of them are rank 9, but the forest is the elf's home. Priscilla smiles and asks rank 9. She strikes her axe against the ground, and very excited, she smiles at the elf, asking who told her that she is rank 9. The elven queen is surprised and says that this is ruined power. Priscilla says that she knows a little about it, explaining that since dwarves cannot use magic, they develop their own unique system of power runes. By engraving runes onto weapons, they can grant them great power. And if those runes were engraved onto oneself, she says that ordinary people carving them onto themselves would only end up hurting and injuring themselves, and that only the most powerful dwarves could withstand those violent ruins, and that these individual powers are generally called holy level dominion. While the elf says that it hasn't been that long and asks how she reached the holy level, Priscilla says that she is merely the holy level, and that it is nothing compared to His Majesty, that she simply understood his greatness and gained inspiration. She asks if the elves has ever felt despair. She explains that everything you do is always within His Majesty's expectations. Your previous step, your next one, all within His plans. Of course you want to resist, but countless threads in the darkness keep you on a predetermined path. She says that she has never seen His Majesty's demigod power, but she has lived in fear of it every moment, completely doomed. But if she could not resist, why not simply go with the flow? And when she freed herself from that burden, she ended up discovering the power within herself. The elven queen says that there is still time for her to return, but Priscilla says that with this power, she would be treated with respect. However, she wants her to understand clearly that the queen is the only one who needs to understand the situation clearly, but she need not worry. Priscilla will do nothing to her. After all, there are few people like her, elves. Sometime later in the dungeons of the Demon King's castle, the elf says that she has confirmed that internal conflicts within the alliance have turned the saint into a 6-winged angel. But looking at the papers, she says, however, these black wings possess a fallen power even purer than the demons of hell. She states that as an angel, Polly completely took over the city, but she did not forcibly detain civilians and even provided supplies to those who wanted to leave. Freem says that they will fight against both the alliance and the demons, and that is good, and that every time His Majesty comes out of seclusion, the situation changes drastically. Our hero asks if she said that Priscilla had sent a surprise and if she was referring to that, and the elf confirms that yes. And in the cell next door, the elven queen curses the demon king. She says that he should not think that a noble elf will submit to him, and that the elves in the alliance will defeat him. As the blindfold covering her eyes loosens slightly, she continues cursing, and she manages to get a glimpse of the demon king. When she finally sees him in full, she questions, "Demon King?" and becomes quite enchanted upon realizing that he is very handsome. Helveman, one of the twin elven queens, whose older sister is a playable character in the game, and that is it. In the original game, solᴅᴜᴛ is merely a contrast to her sister, and her image only appears in the introduction of her older sister. He thinks that regardless, this person is not insignificant and remains an elven queen in this scenario. When the demon army descended upon this plane, it was within elven territory, making the elves the race most occupied with dealing with the demons, and the death of the elven queen is the final breaking point for the elves. All of them become fallen elves, and their true god completely loses control of the Resma plane. At that moment, the true god, who is so stubborn and insistent about the elves, breaks apart this facade. Because you love Deus Ex Machina too much, just to kill the player, and you don't even consider gameplay, do you? Stammering, the queen asks if he is the demon king. Lucius says yes, but that she doesn't need to worry and should treat this place as her home. They have the principle of always making guests feel at home. She says she won't believe his lies, that she would rather kill herself than be captured, and even if she cannot now, she will in the future. Our hero wonders why the Alliance's captives are all so stubborn, one after another. The elf continues and says, however, if you want her not to kill herself, that is not impossible, but she has a request. Annoy Freem asks how she dares, and asks how she dares to make a request, saying that if not for His Majesty's mercy, she doubts she would still be alive. Our hero tells her to state her request, and if she wants her accommodations changed, he can do that right now, as this is no place for a queen to live. The elf seems to scoff at him, and asks, change of location? How could I make such a simple request? Lucius asks if it is some political demand, such as retreating from a territory or adjusting military distribution. Excited, he thinks, yes, as expected of the elven queen. Her vision is extraordinary. This could take us far. And in the next moment she says, hold me. She adds that she wants him to embrace her, but it must be a tight hug. And she promises that if he does, she will not kill herself. Surprised and confused, our hero wonders if that is all. Exasperated, Freem says that this is completely unacceptable and that elves are the most hostile race toward them in this plane. So the shameless woman must have some kind of plan. He thinks that he is not afraid since she has no way to break through his defenses, and he really cannot expect anyone here to be normal. Indifferent, Lucius asks if it would be just a hug, and as the queen confirms it, Freem becomes worried. Approaching the woman, he tells her they should do it. Then, while the dark elf looks on in disbelief, he thinks that given the nature of elves, if he refuses, she will most likely truly kill herself, and he cannot afford to make more enemies. Luckily, it only requires a hug. The elven queen blushes and thinks it is wonderful. She admires his short hair, his pleasant scent, and his elegant aura. Certainly, a demon king is the man of her dreams. She realizes that even through his clothes, she can feel his strong physique, and that all those curves beneath the layers of fabric seem wonderful as well. Out of nowhere, she grabs our hero's butt, surprising him. Meanwhile, an extremely irritated Freem thinks that Elf is a shameless woman. How dare she desire His Majesty? As she moves closer, the elf thinks she really wants to taste him. Very slowly, she runs her tongue along the hero's neck, and Freem is on the verge of exploding as she watches the scene. Unable to bear it any longer, the dark elf steps between them, declaring that this stops here. She says that the queen is a prisoner and that he should stay away from her, no matter the reason. Remaining calm, our hero explains that this is nothing to him, telling her not to worry. Exasperated, the elf exclaims, "Nothing, Your Majesty." She says that there are several issues in the territory that require his attention and that he should go immediately to take care of official matters. Lucius shouts, "Yes." Freem adjusts her glasses and says, "Good," and she continues to saying that His Majesty should leave things here to her. With a piercing glare, she asks if there is anything else for His Majesty. Frightened, he says there is just one small thing, while wondering if Freem might have overreacted just a little. He asks if he can invite this elf to have dinner with him later, as he wants her to experience the hospitality of the demon army. Bowing, the elf says that just having dinner is not a problem and that the decision is quite fitting for the status of the demon king. Lucius says that is good while laughing. As our hero takes his leave, he says he is going now, while the elven queen thinks that she was so focused on the demon king that she almost didn't notice something. Those seductive, plump lips, and also that voluptuous and explosive figure, along with that tempting brown skin. Turning red, she thinks that she is a wonderful drove. She becomes slightly concerned about the shameless demon hound and the fallen drow who betrayed the gods. She wonders why she gets so excited just thinking about insulting her. Meanwhile, the dark elf sighs. She says that any insult that comes from the elven queen's mouth is a pleasure to her. She adds, "Elf trash, I don't know what you're planning by approaching His Majesty with such shameless methods, but..." She says that if the queen dares to think anything improper about His Majesty, then she will make her regret ever being born into this world. But the only thing the elven queen asks is whether the drow personally carries out all harsh measures. Freem confirms and says that, in the entire demon army, no one is better at interrogation techniques than she is. The queen says that is wonderful, and that Freem can begin because she is ready for whatever she has in store. Blushing, Freem wonders if she misspoke or if the woman misunderstood her, as she seems quite eager. Scoffing, Freem says that she won't have time today as both major and minor matters await His Majesty's attention. She adds that someone will come to take the queen to her quarters and orders her to behave until then. The elven queen thinks that she is just living like that, and she thinks it's fine and wonders if, should she do something with the demon king, that Droll will attack her brutally. She says that this is exactly what she expected from a lustful and mocking Droll. A little too excited, she thinks. This is so. Drolls are fallen elves to abandon their precious and unshakable faith in the elven gods, which is why they became what they are. So, as an elven princess, she has the duty and ability to redeem this fallen Drow and make her realize the essence of the elven gods. She thinks that she will remember every single one of these humiliations, and that she will personally bring this Drow back from the wrong path. With a leaf-shaped pen, she draws something on her thigh. Meanwhile, outside the castle, the elf feels something strange, wondering why she feels as if she is being watched. Inside the demon castle, our hero says that this meal is her welcome to the demon army, and tells her to feel free to enjoy it. Frym tells His Highness that there is no need for such courtesy with their enemy, especially not preparing food for her. The queen asks if she means that someone like her should be imprisoned and fed pig slop instead. Then she chooses to taste a large pickle that was on the table. Embarrassed, our hero says there's no need to panic as the hospitality of the demon army is not lacking, while Frym is irritated. He explains that preparing this is not difficult since they are just vegetables and fruits, and that they even taste quite good. He thinks that he would still prefer if she could behave just a little. At the same time, under the table, the elven queen slides her feet along the hero's leg. Embarrassed, he wonders what she is planning now, but he knows that if he confronts her, she will only escalate things. So he just stays strong. He explains that he has something important to discuss with Queen Helveman regarding the war, something that could bring disaster to both armies. Annoyed, she asks if that isn't exactly what he wants, and she tells him to understand that she will never betray Razma. He says that she must have heard about the incident with the six-winged fallen angel and explains that she is not an ally, and that a demigod should not be underestimated. Frink tells His Majesty that all of this happened due to his negligence and that she made a very grave mistake, but our hero says that it was unavoidable. The Drow questions this high level of power and asks if forces from other planes are intervening. He responds that probably not yet. He continues saying that to end this war quickly for both sides, a small loss may be necessary, and he tells Helveman that she will become the demon army's ambassador. While eating, the elven queen seems quite entertained with another matter, while our hero ends up feeling a bit excited. Suddenly, a loud bang, and Lucius, tense, ends up punching the table, while the dark elf calls for His Majesty. But in the next moment, he says it's nothing, calming the woman. The queen thinks that if the Drow catches her, she will certainly be punished, and while that would be wonderful, she loses the opportunity to get closer to the Lord, and she thinks that what she truly wants is to trample on him with her feet. Surprised, our hero asks Free if there is a problem, while the elf crawls on the floor. Irritated, she tells His Highness that the demon army has never had an ambassador before, but he says that even if they haven't had one before, removing the boot from one of his feet, and he adds that it doesn't mean they can't have one now. He says the times are changing, that the world is constantly evolving, and that they cannot remain stagnant. As their feet tangle beneath the table, he says, otherwise, he will definitely be left behind by the others. And Freem says that, as expected of His Highness, is always a visionary. But in the next moment, out of nowhere, the elf seems to be in another world, and blushing deeply, she lets out a small moan. Exploding with irritation, Freem asks the elf trash what she is doing, stating she has tolerated her long enough, but Lucius tells her to calm down. Our hero thinks it seems like he stepped on something strange, while the elf asks if, after all this, he still wants her to work for him. He says that her position can be arranged, and he will also release 2 other captured elves to support her. He adds that what to do, and how to do it is up to her, and he will respect her ideas. Our hero thinks that she should escape quickly, and as an ambassador, she will be able to leave and visit places normally. Now with the 2 elves, one of them says that they should hurry up and escape. She says she heard that the damn demon king wants her to act as an ambassador, so they can just run away. It all says that the king is stupid and asks if the choices are only up to them, saying that, as expected, he endures humiliation for a chance to live. Suddenly, the elven queen lets go of the girl's hands, and as a final statement, she says that they will not escape. The girl asks what she means by that, while the other, concerned, asks why they wouldn't escape. Shouting, the girl asks if she really wants to become a pet of the demon army, and the other elf asks her to calm down. The woman explains that this is not the case and that escaping is certainly easy, but that is a cowardly and foolish act, that running away will only guarantee their own safety, but staying there will be a thorn in the ranks of the demon army. She explains that they can obtain important information that could change the war and save lives, like the weapon that was used in the last battle. She asks if it isn't worth investigating that weapon, or if they will have to pay with their lives to learn how to face it on the battlefield. Surprised, the girl says, "Your Majesty." Hugging the queen, they say that she thought far ahead, and that they were wrong to doubt her, and that compared to Heldeman, they're just fools. The queen says that she is happy they understand their mission, and that is why they must work hard so that no one suspects them. Then one of them asks, "But and she follows up by questioning how they should work hard. The queen says that if they slack off, the demon king might discover their intentions. Of course, they need to pretend that they are diligently fulfilling the diplomatic work assigned to them by the demon army. Approaching the table, she picks up a book. She says that they don't just need to work hard, but harder than any other department in the army. If they work 10 hours, they must work 16. Obsessively excited, she thinks, I want to do this. The girl asks if they will really gain anything from their work. Then the queen explains that diplomacy is not a job where one can stand out simply by working hard. Since the alliance is made up of different races, regardless of factions or nations, they have an unshakable belief that the demon army must be destroyed, and that the people conquered by the demons hate them more than anything, and must wish for the alliance army to lead them once again. Considering this belief, thinking that the demon army wants peace would be impossible. No one will accept it, and none of their efforts will bear fruit. The girls say that they understand and that they will work hard, that they cannot let the king underestimate the efficiency of the alliance, and the other says she will handle the translations. They say they are full of energy now and that they could last until tomorrow morning, and the other says that they will work until then. The elven queen thinks, I can't say that. That the truth is, she's enjoying this a lot and doesn't want to leave. How could she say something like that? Sometime later, Freem says that this is ridiculous. That a group of prisoners wanting to serve His Majesty now can only be some kind of conspiracy. Ashen tells her that she has been pacing there for at least an hour, and that it's starting to make her dizzy. Freem asks if she knows what she is doing there, and the girl asks if she was walking around for an hour and only now noticed her. Ashen says that since Priscilla was promoted and transferred, His Highness told her to take this opportunity to study and learn more. The girl says that even though she doesn't think so, all development was thanks to Priscilla, and that she herself wants to prepare another surprise for His Highness. And she asks that since Freem is so worried about the new diplomatic department, why not send someone to serve as a spy? Freem says that espionage is indeed the idea and that she has already chosen someone, who's actually right there waiting to appear. Suddenly, a pink energy fills the room, and someone asks, "Oh my, were you just talking about me?" A leg emerges from a portal and the voice says that in that case, she arrived at just the right time. The demon woman asks if this is the atmosphere of a plane outside of hell, and adds that it is really uncomfortable. As she lifts herself up from that place, Ashen thinks, "Succubus." Stretching, the demon woman says, all right. Smiling, she says that the succubus has arrived. The newly arrived woman stretches and yawns. Then she says that cross-plane teleportation is really quite uncomfortable. Annoyed, Freem tells Ibis that this is the Demon King's army, not her own home. But the succubus tells her not to be so serious, since their emperor isn't here right now. This could be their happy hour. Getting closer, she asks Freyng how long it has been since they last saw each other, saying the last time was in school, asking if she's right. She says that Freem was in the interrogation department while she was in the potions department. Speaking seriously, she gives a slap to a very specific part of the elf's body. She continues saying that Freem hasn't contacted her beautiful junior for a long time. But suddenly, grabbing the woman's hand, Freem says that's enough. Throwing the succubus's hand away, she orders her to restrain her succubus nature because that is not why she summoned her to the Rosman plane. Abbas says that Freem is such a boring woman and asks why she can't just enjoy pleasures like the other drows. She adds that she knows what the drow wants her to do, that it must be something like being a spy or something similar. She says that of course the most important ability of her clan would be the ability to read minds. She says that she hasn't served a demon lord since she graduated hundreds of years ago, but her skills are the best in her entire clan. Ashen asks if the legendary clan can read thoughts, and if they are the best intelligence agents in hell, capable of revealing the gentler side of everyone. Abus confirms and says that, for example, Ashina's name is Ashina, and that she is a pacifist, but, surprise, Ashen interrupts, no more anyway, how does an army have someone as strange as you in charge of the weapons department? Freem, irritated, orders the succubus to stop showing off her mind-reading abilities there. Ebis says that her secrets are safe because she still can't read her level. Blushing, Freem says that she is devoted only to His Highness and that she has no secrets, and she shares her concerns about the prisoners from the new department. The woman chuckles and asks if this isn't just spying. She explains that her succubus clan is the best at doing that sort of thing. She tells Freem not to forget that succubi like her can even impersonate angels and saints, allowing them to infiltrate heaven itself. She then asks how, with all of this, Freem can possibly not feel at ease. Freem says that she believes in her talent, which is why she requested her transfer. She warns that elves are highly sensitive and tells her to be careful. Ibis tells her not to worry, saying that she has the best options from her clan and will extract all the information Freem needs. Happily, the succubus asks if Freem would like a bottle, while Freem asks if it's that. Ibis explains that it's her latest research, something that can increase sensitivity by 100 times, and that even just walking could bring unparalleled pleasure. Out of nowhere, she turns around and says that she doesn't need that, and the succubus asks if 100 times not enough, if she would need something even stronger. Grabbing another small bottle, she says that she has a powerful hypnotic potion there, and that even a demon emperor, after drinking it, would become a puppet in her own way. They would do anything she asked. no matter how humiliating it might be. Freema horrified at the explanation, while the succubus gives a little laugh and says, right. Closing the door behind her, the succubus leaves the two women in silence in that room. Ashlyn asks if she is trustworthy, as the rumors say that if it brings pleasure it will sell anything, and Freem asks since when they use the word trustworthy. She explains that now she just needs a guard dog, and if it's an evil dog even better, it will be able to stand watch against those light data thieves. Meanwhile, the succubus moves through the castle, thinking that a pacifist demon was asked to develop weapons, in addition to appointing an elven prisoner as an ambassador, and that the ideas of this renowned demon are quite incomprehensible, though the more incomprehensible they are, the more powerful their effects will be in the future. She thinks that this demon King Lucius is undoubtedly the man closest to the demon god. Excited, she thinks, Your Highness Lilith, you were right. I would never betray your trust. As a double agent, she will infiltrate deep into Lucius's inner circle and discover all his weaknesses. Elsewhere in the castle, someone says that this plan will not work. If they choose to approach the Elven Kingdom on a diplomatic mission, they will definitely think they have ulterior motives. The girl asks why they don't send someone to the Dwarven Kingdom, but the queen says that they are stubborn, wouldn't even listen, and would imprison the messenger immediately. She continues saying that the plan is terrible and lacks any sincerity, explaining that they need to show how magnanimous the demon army truly is. Then the girl says that there is a small human kingdom near the demon king's territory, and that it could be the one. Pointing to the map, she says, Barranquilla. It has a population of only 30 million and is in a strategic position between the two armies. If they succeed, it would greatly benefit the Demon King's army. Havman says that's good, but they must not forget the true objective. If they truly bring them to the demon's side, they will become traitors. The young girl tells Her Majesty not to worry, that if they try to persuade weak nations, they might succeed, but not Barranquilla. The old king is the most resolute supporter of Razna. He has already led troops against the Demon King, so anyone could be a traitor. But this king definitely would not. Moreover, one of the conditions is to give up his world position and retain only part of his wealth. Excited, she says that they would never just accept suddenly becoming commoners, that their mission will definitely be rejected. The Elven Queen thinks that this makes sense. Continuing, the girl says that they obtain important information that must be delivered to the Alliance immediately, that it was Priscilla who created the cannons. Looking at an image, she questions her, and says that she can't believe that Priscilla completely betrayed them. The young girl says that, in addition to this information, there is also a piece of military intelligence that is a matter of life or death. There is also the mysterious 7th Legion of the Demon Army, and they have already been moving behind the heart of the Alliance. This legion is composed of aquatic creatures from Hell, meaning they can cross the oceans where the Alliance has no defenses. Since the war began, this legion has already been relocated by 100 miles. And according to intelligence, it are ready to launch a surprise attack. Shocked, the queen asks if this is a naval force, and if they grip position by 100 miles in just 3 years. She thinks that this is not just a great strategy, this is pure madness. As expected from the Demon King, all the recent attacks announced this. His movements seemed random, yet they struck directly at his enemies. Crushing the paper in her hands, she curses the situation and thinks that this man is truly exceptional. The young girl calls for the queen, who tries to compose herself and says that it's nothing, but that they need to send someone to deliver this crucial information to the Alliance. Rhea asks what if the Demon King refuses their requests. Since they were only recently established, would he even allow them to leave the castle? Then the queen says that she will personally go to the Demon King, and she will definitely secure a chance to be sent away. The two young elf girls are surprised and impressed. They find it so moving and think that to secure the Alliance's victory, the queen is risking her own life by trying to persuade the Demon King. And Helderman says that this is what she should do. But, worried, she thinks that if the Demon King does not agree, she will use all necessary means to force him to accept. Sometime later, Ibis arrives, greeting everyone. She introduces herself and says that Lady Freem sent her to help with everything, and that from now on they will be colleagues. The three of them look somewhat suspicious. Rhea thinks that after everything she has come the demon's lapdog, and that she is clearly a spy sent to monitor them. Meanwhile, the other young elf thinks they should hide the documents so the woman doesn't find out. They cannot let her discover anything, while the Elven Queen doesn't think about anything at all. Abbas is surprised to find a diplomacy department full of spies and thinks that she is a wild card. Besides, it's quite the coincidence. The Queen welcomes the woman and asks what her abilities are, while Ibis says that it is an honor to work with her, and that she will need guidance. Sitting down, she adds that she will just observe from the corner for now. Meanwhile, the elves think that she looks beautiful sitting there, that they hope the demon's ＳумmaRiPon doesn't get sent there, and that this is infuriating. Ibis thinks that no matter how vigilant she is, if she can't see their thoughts, it won't help, and as Lucius' adversary, she will never betray them. Though she finds it strange that she can't read the queen's mind, she assumes that while Heldman isn't at the holy level, she might have some kind of protective artifact. She knows that elven treasures are truly abundant, but it doesn't matter. So far, all she senses are cautious thoughts toward her, and she hopes things get chaotic soon. While writing, the queen thinks that this woman is a real problem, that she is perfect, her face is enchanting, and she wonders if all demon women are beautiful and seductive. Blushing a little, she thinks that it is really true. She is marvelous, imagining the woman in a more scandalous way. In the afternoon at the demon castle, our hero reflects on something in front of his large window. He realizes that his coffee is finished as the window light illuminates him, and he asks the saint to please serve him another cup, while she questions if it's really something as simple as serving coffee. Annoyed, she pouts a little. Our hero sits there, holding the cup in his hands. He thinks that, in any case, he already sent the saint away and is a bit unaccustomed to her presence. Our hero thinks that this is an illusion, that she only caused him trouble, so how could he think that having her back would be a good thing? Suddenly, someone announces that Ambassador Heldeman has something important to report to him, and Lucius asks her to come in. She tells the demon lord that the department has already formulated the first plan and is ready to embark on their first mission. Freem stands outside listening attentively. Our hero questions whether they already have a plan and notes that this is quite efficient. They all says that since he placed his trust in them, they will not disappoint him. He thinks, no way, and questions whether this is truly a diplomatic plan. Helveman thinks that this is the exact expression she was hoping to see. Our hero considers that despite everything, this is still a plan devised by prisoners, and that they chose the kingdom of Barankilia. Of course there will be doubts. Excited and blushing slightly, she thinks. So, she could confront him directly and force him, or she could gently persuade him with reason, or maybe, make him understand that this is an excellent plan, and have him accept it willingly. She doesn't care which one. It's fine either way. Suddenly, our hero snaps his fingers, and excited he says that it is good and approved. The elf is a little surprised and asks, are you sure? Lucius thinks that even in the middle of the game, this kingdom was a tough nut to crack for players. The old king spared no resources or effort, and that these elves want to persuade him to surrender? This has to be just an excuse to escape. So he says, of course I'm sure. He says that it's impossible to find a better plan, and that they should simply proceed with boldness. A little disappointed, Helveman says, oh yes. She turns away without saying anything else, leaving our hero looking foolish. Then he wonders if she seemed a little disappointed or if it was just his imagination. And now, the next thing. Nearby, by the entrance, Freem continues listening. Lucius calls for her and asks what she needs while smiling. The owl says that she failed in her duty, that she wasn't spying but rather concerned, that two-faced woman could do something disrespectful. He says that he didn't call her to reprimand her, and if there's nothing else, she can return to work. But Freema says that actually she does have something to report about them. Then our hero tells her to go ahead. She reveals that she actually knows that the department has been slacking off all day, wandering around and being lazy, and Lucius is pleased with this. He thinks that Helveman's department has been working hard and late into the night and that he was impressed. They even sleep in the office. Excited, she says that the demons she sent to supervise Helveman and the others detected some anomalies. And she adds that if everyone in the demon army had this attitude, soon enough, Razo's plan would belong to His Majesty. Suddenly, our hero is devastated and even ends up accidentally tearing the plan. He thinks that it can't be, that this is too terrifying, that although this plan doesn't inspire confidence, there's something more to it, and that, on top of that, his luck isn't reliable either, and that there are too many lessons to learn from this. Suddenly, he tells Freyan that he has had another vision and needs a break. She will be in charge while he retreats for a while. The elf questions this. He thinks that in this case, he must go, but since he is infiltrating the demon army, he cannot wear the Black Knight's uniform. And as he runs, tossing his cloak away, he thinks that he needs a new disguise. Sometime later at the diplomacy camp, 3 creatures sit around a campfire. The bear says that this is his first diplomatic mission. If they ask him, he would say there's no need for this. They could just take over the entire plane at once. Agreeing, the other says that the locals are too ugly. No attractive muscles or horns, let alone sexy tails. They only have useless rat. The young bull says that when the war is over, he will return home and get married. Turning to the other companion, he asks about him and says that he doesn't look familiar. He asks why his art style is different from the others, and then the man responds with a smile, asking if he's talking about him. Someone confirms and says that they have never seen him at the demon castle before. Besides, he doesn't look like a demon at all. Suspicious, they ask which unit he belongs to. Our hero explains that he was transferred from the front lines due to his merits and was rewarded with the position of guard for the diplomatic mission. Still unconvinced, the bear man asks what kind of service merit. So he explains that it was during the ambush. He managed to eliminate several enemies in that battle. They murmur among themselves, realizing that he is that warrior from the battle. Meanwhile, our hero, trying to play along, says, yes. Worry, Lucius thinks that he's being exposed before the plot has even begun. A little while later, they are all sitting together with our heroes squeezed between them. Very excited, they ask him to tell them how the battle went. One of them says that he has been guarding the castle for so long that his whole body is sore. Our hero says that, in truth, there isn't much to tell. It was all thanks to the surprise attack. He thinks about how more than 100,000 soldiers were caught in an ambush and completely defeated with the newly developed weapons. The guard asks why his brother is crying, and Lucius responds that he is moved because that battle was very significant and that it was an honor to participate. and crying, he thinks to himself, please don't make me think about sad things. The bear man says that experiencing the battle was incredible luck, and seeing how moved he is, it's clear that he's a natural-born warrior. Decided, he declares it from now on, he will be his big brother and Lucius must learn from him how to get strong muscles and sexy scars on his face. The other says that he will be his second brother and that now his problems are his problems too. He will wash his back in the demon castle. The three kneel there on the grass, and they declare that by the Supreme Lord they are now sworn brothers, that they were not born on the same day and therefore they will not die on the same day. Surprised and confused, our hero watches this scene unfold as the two massive creatures complete their oath, and he thinks, wait, who exactly are you squaring this to? Suddenly, someone appears, calling out to them. Ibis asks what they are doing out there, and the soldiers say that they are just having a deep conversation with their new little brother. She interrupts, saying that there is no need to continue because she isn't interested. She orders them to take the night watch and guard the fields, and the soldiers obey. The demon woman reads their minds and sees that one of them is wondering what the point is of guarding a safe place like this. Meanwhile, the bear seems somewhat intrigued, and the bull man thinks that he just needs to endure a little longer, and soon you will be able to see her again. Meanwhile, our hero sits in his corner with his head down. Abbas thinks that this is yet another one she cannot read, and she wonders if he has a special item like the elf, if he is stronger than her, or if there is another possibility, a spy. She thinks that Freya might have placed a spy among them because she doesn't trust her, and if not for her mind-reading ability, she could have been deceived. Abby's wonders why the man is smiling at her in such a creepy way. Pointing at our hero, she tells him to follow her because she has another task for him. Desperate, Lucius points at himself and says, me? Grabbing him by the shirt. She says that's right, and that he must come with her. The soldiers wonder why she took their third brother and question if she might be interrogating him about the battlefield. One of them explains that his brother doesn't understand she is a succubus, and while they don't like the face of the third brother, for a succubus, it's different. He says that she likes that kind of feminine look and that he once had a friend who fell into the hands of one of them, and in the end, all that was left of him were the camp remains and his food bones. Looking at those remains, they say, third brother, farewell. The young bull thinks that succubi are terrifying, but he really wants to return and see her again tomorrow. A long time later, in another part of the camp, our hero follows Ibis to a cabin. He wonders why she is taking him to this cabin alone. Does she want to torture him? Positioning herself on the bed, she says, all right, now take it off. Our hero is in shock as realization dawns on him. Tense, Lucius asks her to wait and questions why she is suddenly ordering him to take off his clothes. She asks what other reason there could be for bringing him there. She explains that she is a succubus and asks if it isn't natural for her to have this kind of need. She says that, as it happens, he is her type, and since he will be a guarder for the diplomatic mission, his stamina must be quite good. Terrified, he says, I'm sorry, but I already have a fiancé waiting for me back in my village. She insists, saying that it's just taking off his clothes and asks what the problem is if he's really going to keep resisting. Ibis thinks that once he removes the treasures he carries or she can check the magical inscriptions on his body, she'll be able to confirm his identity. But in the next moment, something seems to happen. She is very surprised as she uses her magic. She questions whether he actually managed to nullify her enchantment magic. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tab's channel.